Goodness. Oh, jeez. Come on. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Jeff, how are you, bud?
We are live on Facebook already.
Okay.
I am in the midst of my very, very boring sharing routine and just slightly behind because I'm not sure we're having little lag issues here. So we are live. We're just not on either of the radio outlets quite yet.
Okay. Do you want me camera on, camera off? Does it matter?
Totally up to you.
Okay.
I prefer it on respectfully, but if you are having broadband issues, then you know how that goes. So
Yep. Oh, no, I think we're good.
we've been doing this as a society for so long. It seems like stuff like that would. But whatever. I mean, you got the background. The gig. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Yep. Got it. Hey,
Zoom
no.
call, just a Zoom thing for you. We got everything else covered over here.
Hey, how's it going?
And please forgive me. Hey, Noah, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Great
too,
to
Jeff.
actually see you. And I hope you'll forgive. I sound very stuffy. My allergies are really. It's a day for allergies for some reason.
It's drying out. It's
Right there
drying
with
out.
you.
It's crazy. I've never had a summer where my allergies have bothered me straight through. There's usually a little bit of a space where I can, where I can breathe. But not this year. Not this year. So just hang tight. We are getting there, I promise. Come on. We're getting there. As you probably know, even though I'm really stuffed up, even though Facebook has some of the best programmers on the planet, I have to do this one by one each week. And so it can take a while. Okay, now we're going to do to our groups. So we're just a little slightly back by about a minute. Every click you hear is a place that we're sharing. Hey, gentlemen. Sorry. Day. We rarely have good, healthy days here in this house, and this has not been a good weekend. Excuse me. We will be live on the radio in 3. Come on, go down. There we go. 3, 2, 1.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know. To you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight? A loyal man who brings a job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's to which we must be true.
No, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
Will raise your hand against the others, and when you compare, you'll cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's over. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Welcome from my humble second bedroom here in what used to be known as Lower Saucon Township. Now we tend to refer to it as Bethlehem Landfill Township after the landfill and its parent company, Waste Management, bought our township council in the last round of elections. It's kind of like naming rights for a stadium. You would think it would be cool. It's not too cool. We're here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in these United States, on this planet Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect, live with you for the 28th of August, 2022. Let's get straight into it. If you are anywhere on the 100 over 100 actually places that we have shared the program this week, stay right where you are. You can listen and enjoy and be part of it just by being there. However, if you would like to join the conversation, please come on over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. Look how crooked my glass. Gosh, it's just not professional, folks. Come on over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, where you can interact with us. I already see Randall. He's the best. He's in the room already. You can ask questions, leave your comments, be part of the conversation. To our sisters and brothers and friends and family at hot101.net, with listeners quite literally around the globe. Whatever time of day it might be for you around the globe, we thank you for making us part of your day, your Sunday, or depending on where you might be around the globe, your Monday. Thank you for being here and being part of us. If you don't know how to listen to hot101.net, it is extremely simple. Our name is our web address. It's hot101.net. You can go to the Apple App Store if you have an Apple device and download the hot101.net app there. If you have an Android device, you can go to the Google Play Store and download the hot101.net app there. If you have any other type of device, you can download the Tune In Radio app. Go up to the search bar, search for hot101.net, and you will find us there, and you can listen. And of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. And of course, the third leg of our stool, the third pillar of our society here, our social society here at the Kennedy Effect, is TCP, the Culture Professional from Lancaster, PA. An exceptionally important show for you tonight, isn't it? Come one right from your backyard. Let's get to our guest as I tried to fix something. I'll probably fix it while he's talking. We had a little weird, we were with you just about a minute or two late. A little slow in the computer today. Not sure what that's about, but we appear to be with you. Everything appears to be fine. I haven't had anybody screaming at me, calling me, texting me, or anything that anything isn't working. So we appear to be okay. Thank you for your patience and for being there. This is our last live show, by the way, before we will be off next week for Labor Day. We hope you enjoy Labor Day. We also hope that you remember what Labor Day is actually for. I enjoy a hot dog and hamburger as much as anybody else, but let's remember what it's for. We can talk about that later in the program. Also, if we have time, I want to get into a story that's been kind of growing here right in our own Lehigh Valley. A growing story between, well, really, I tell you a lot on the program that there's not a lot of gray areas or that there's not a lot of absolutes in life. 1, 0, up, down, black, white. What we have brewing here in our own Lehigh Valley is actually one of those situations. It is a love versus hate situation. Inclusion versus exclusion. Democracy versus fascism. And we will hopefully get a chance to talk about that a little later in the program as well. But first, let me welcome our guests. The big guy and the big guy behind him. Our guest is Noah Fatzinger, who works for Bob Hollister for Congress. You see them both on screen right now. If you're watching, if you're listening on the radio, the gentlemen are both with me. Now, we interview a lot of candidates on the program, but you also know, if you've listened to the program at all, if you're a regular listener, if you're a spot listener, if you listen live or listen on the recording, you know that we try to take kind of a multi-pronged approach to politics, if you will. Of course, Bob is going to talk about his candidacy, talk about what's important to him, what he would bring to the office when he wins it. But you also know, if you're any regular of the program at all, that we also talk a lot about what's a day in the life like? What is it like to take this leap? What makes you put yourself out there like that? And just how big of an effort it can be to do something like run for anything, but especially a federal level office. And we're going to talk to Noah about that part of it. Why help Bob? Why get involved in this? Why take so much of your, daily life and do these important things? So let's not delay any more. Gentlemen, let me, to both of you for the time being, say welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jeff. I love the energy you bring to the Sunday night gathering here. This is fun.
Well, welcome to both of you. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here. Everyone who's familiar with the show knows there is quite literally no budget. So the fact that you are willing to be here, it's not exactly like I sent you a big appearance fee check, but thank you for being here. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it. Programs like ours and what we try to bring to people wouldn't happen without you. So let me start by, of course, thank you and welcome, but let's start with the big guy. Let's start with the head of the spear here, and that is Mr. Hollister. Bob Hollister, welcome again, and please tell everyone, who is Bob Hollister and how did you get here?
Oh man, there's a first hour right there, Jeff. So first of all, let me say I fully appreciate the no budget situation. Our budget's pretty lean here, running for Congress as running against an incumbent. and just getting started in politics, having never held an office before. I don't know how much your listeners know, probably very little at this point, but we'll get started. So I was a public educator for the last 33 and a half years. I was initially a teacher, a technology education teacher. Many folks would know that as the old school shop classes. I enjoyed that in Boyertown, halfway between me and you right now, Jeff, in the Boyertown area. And then got into administration, school administration, and I did all that in your neck of the woods in Bucks County and Montgomery County before I came back here as an assistant superintendent and then superintendent for the last 13 and a half years at Eastern Lancaster County School District, also known as Garden Spot. Garden Spot's the name of the high school. And then I retired in January of this past year, January 2022, in order to run this race. And that's where I've been ever since then. And I've been hard at it.
Noah, welcome, and thank you for being here as well. And thank you for what I think might be a part of politics that we don't always remember, is that Bob doesn't just wake up one morning, roll out of bed, and decide to run for the United States House of Representatives. He has to have someone behind him. I think no matter what office that you run for, even in these modern times, as polarized as school board has become, you need a team behind you. So who is Noah Fatzinger? How did you get here?
Yeah, so I'm Bob's deputy campaign manager. As Bob said, we're on a shoestring budget. So, I mean, we really rely on not only myself, but our campaign director, Mary Grill, and the entire team that we have behind us, as well as the county's Democratic parties that we represent. But I've been working in politics, volunteering since I was a kid with my parents, and just met Bob at a event back in October, and through a turn of events in January, just started on this journey with him, and been there ever since. So, you know, all politics is kind of a personal connection. And I mean, I'd like to think when Bob was interviewing me, I was also interviewing him, and just, you know, you meet somebody who you can get behind in this kind of field of work, and you know, you just see where it goes. And it's been an interesting journey so far.
Bob, why do this?
Boy, that's such a big question. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, why I do this is because I care. I am frustrated with where our country is. I'm frustrated with the polarization that we are seeing. Friends being torn apart, neighborhoods being torn apart, school districts being torn apart, families being torn apart. And I think my experiences as a school leader for over a decade lend themselves to trying to bring folks back together again, try and start having some conversations again. Jeff, you know, it wasn't too long ago that, you know, you and I, Jeff, could agree or disagree on 6 or 7 things, and, you know, and disagree on four or 3 things, and still have a conversation and still respect one another. And, you know, this country right now, too many of us, if we disagree with one thing out of 10, it's one too many, and I can't talk to that person anymore. And we've got to get past that. We really do have to try and bring ourselves back together and find that common ground, and that common sense, that pragmatism, and that belief that we're all sort of in this together.
When I look at your website, you spend a lot of time on that. I as an elected official inside the Democratic Party, and yet someone who considers themselves, and certainly has acted that way, a real progressive, a real New Deal Democrat. You know, I tend to look at progressivism as simply the history of the party. It's who we are, or at a darn minimum, who we should be. A Kennedy Democrat, the Great Society, the party that, you know, saved this country and the planet really from the Republican Great Depression of the 1920s. That put a man on the moon, that saved the world from fascism twice. The Great Society, which halved poverty in this country. You have a lot of language on the website about bringing us back together, about being pragmatic. I often get pushed back about trying to be pragmatic at times too. I think what we saw this week with the $10,000 student debt relief is pragmatism. the progressives out there who have decided that's not enough. You know, at some point, the perfect has to stop being the enemy of the good.
Amen, Jeff.
But
Yes,
that,
amen.
all of that said, and I admire the fact that you want to do that. How on earth, when we're going to say when you are elected to this position,
I like it. Yep.
and it's not an easy question, Bob. It's not. You go onto the floor of the House to speak about XYZ, whatever, fill in the blank.
Mhm.
Sitting in front of you, at least from the lectern, as the way the House is set up, it would be to the
Sure.
left of you, but certainly not. The Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Lauren Boeberts, the Louis Gomers, the Paul Gosars, who would just as soon shoot you dead on the floor of the House of Representatives as hear anything you have to say, or
Mhm.
even give some consideration to it.
Mhm.
How the hell are you pragmatic with that? How does one deal with that?
Well, you know, as a school superintendent, I had to, by my job responsibility, talk with everyone, respect everyone, and listen to everyone. And I couldn't pick and choose who those folks were. And so it's really no different than the members of Congress. You have to try to understand, you know, there's what they're saying, and then what are they really saying, and you have to tunnel into that. You have to give them an honest listen, and you have to find that one place where there's some common ground and work off that. It's going to take a long time before I'm probably going to be able to successfully work with some of those folks. But there are others who I will find pretty quickly who have the ability to compromise, to give and take. There are plenty of members of both Congress and in the Senate, quite frankly, who can be in the middle and who can listen to others and find something in there to grab onto. It really is sort of that old fashioned, you know, establish a beachhead and go from there.
What is the middle? Do you consider the middle? Where is it? What is the middle of the country currently?
Re-ask your question, Jeff. In terms of a specific topic or in general?
It is my belief, and I'll label it a belief, even though all the polling data suggests that I am 100% correct. I am rarely 100% correct, if ever. But all the polling data, and literally for the last probably going 12 or more years, shows that the United States is a center-left country.
Right. Okay.
We believe, you know, polling on dramatically, not just even a little bit, but dramatically increasing taxes on corporations and the richest polls in the 60s and 70s of percent.
Mhm.
Common sense weapons protection legislation polls in the high 80s, low 90s%, especially into the 90s with NRA members and with police officers.
Correct. Yep.
And with former military. Thank you so much.
Yep.
The
Sure.
VA is supported by the upper 80s percentile, 90s percentile. Veterans who might not even think that the VA works properly still support it. By the way, the VA is single payer healthcare.
Yeah.
So there's center left they don't care who the hell gets married to who. If you're
Right.
not breaking the law and you're not hurting anybody, nobody really seems to care. But like most people, we'll pay taxes, but we don't want to get soaked. And we certainly don't want to get soaked on behalf of rich people.
Correct.
While we
Yep.
continue to pay more and more taxes, rich people pay less and less and less.
Mhm.
So if I'm right, and again, I may not be, but if I'm right, the United States is center left, then what do we consider when you talk about the center? What does the center mean to you? How do you define the center? Because I think the center is actually a hell of a lot more left than a lot of people think it is, or give it credit for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would have a good argument against what you're saying, Jeff. I think in this county, in Lancaster County, in the PA 11th and Southern York counties, which you know is the composite of the district, I think you'll probably find a little bit more conservative thinking on some of the social values. But I think everyone that's where I come in. I come in right there. I think everyone wants to make every dollar scream. They want to make sure every dollar's been accounted for and properly spent. And if you can make a good case to spend those dollars as an investment, everyone's going to say, yeah, I can get behind that. I also happen to agree with you that I think for those folks who there are at least a group of folks here, especially in this, talk about the PA 11th again. I think there's a group of folks here who probably have a little bit more left views than they purport or they show just because of the church they're affiliated with or the group of friends they're affiliated with. And actually during, for this election, we're kind of counting on them to go in the privacy of the ballot box and vote their hearts, not what they're told to vote. I think part of the issue, and you're a part of this machine, Jeff, in a way, is the media that tells people what to think and convinces them what to think. And I think part of our conversation needs to be cutting through some of that noise and really challenging some folks. I mean, I have some great little vignettes I can share anytime that you want and talk about some of the people I've met along the way here who are emblematic of what you're saying.
Well, feel free. Tell me about one of those. I'd like to think we're not telling anyone like to think or what to think. I'd like to think I'm trying to help them think.
Yeah,
Without drowning folks in the word think too many times, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's not about so much telling people what to think as to telling them not to think at all.
Yeah.
This is what's happening to you. You're a victim.
Yeah, right.
And some of the folks who think they are victims, but they're victims of themselves.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, for sure.
I assure you, the great social issue of this nation is not when is a rich white billionaire going to get a break in this country? That's not exactly the biggest problem that we're dealing with right now. But yet we have a quote unquote news network telling them that's exactly what the biggest problem is. If only we had more billionaires.
Yeah. Well, and the whole echo chamber of thinking, and that goes not just for media, but folks surround themselves who repeat the message back to them, and then they repeat that message back to one another, and then they think the whole world thinks that way. And that's another issue. But I can tell you, I met a gentleman a while back. He was clearly, we were doing a meet and greet and just talking to folks, and he came a little late, and at the end, and caught the end of my act, so to speak. And immediately following folks breaking up, he said, "I want to talk to you." And and we talked for a while. We talked for not more than 20 minutes. And at the end of that 20 minutes, he said, "I've been flying my Trump flag in my front yard for the last 5 years, but I'm taking your sign and I'm planting it tonight in my front yard." And I learned from that a couple of things. Two things, really. One is people just want to be heard. Sometimes, and this is true as a superintendent, the number of times who people had to talk to me, demanded to talk to me, didn't matter about my schedule. They needed to talk to the superintendent right now to get this fixed. And after I listened to them for sometimes 20, 30, sometimes 40, 45 minutes, I would finish with, so what do you want to do with this now? What do you want me to do? And it was nothing. I just wanted you to listen to me. And that the problem was fixed just by listening. And I
don't want to interrupt your story, but I want to pick up on something that we tend to hear a lot on the program. And I'd like to know if you agree or if you have felt this as well. I'm sure Noah can contribute to it too. I don't want Noah to feel like I'm leaving him out. Yeah. But please, I want you to finish the story. I don't want to lose it. I just want to ask you though, as you have been campaigning, especially against a character like Mr. Smucker, how many folks have come to you and said, nobody ever comes and talks to us? I've never seen an elected official. I've never seen anybody, or I've never even seen anybody campaigning. Or somebody who
Republicans and Democrats.
Somebody who might even actually like Mr. Smucker. Goodness knows why, but you know what? This is America. They're allowed to do that. But would look at you and say, you know what, Bob Hollister, I don't agree with you on a heck of a lot, but at least you came and talked to us. And not just standing in front of them, but you came to us and talk to us. Are you gentlemen hearing a lot? Again, I'm sorry, Bob, if I'm ruining your story, but are you hearing a lot of that? Or you see a lot of that? Do you see folks come up to you and say, I may not agree with you, I might not even vote for you, but at least you came out and talked to us?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Noah can, I'll let Noah jump in on that. He's been to almost as many meet and greets as I've done. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the most repetitive story that we hear from Republicans, Democrats, independents is just a lack of transparency. I mean, that's one of the things that Bob's kind of running with. I mean, I'm not sure how versed you are in Mr. Smucker's kind of town halls and whatnot. He only does phone town halls. He screens everything. I mean, he wants to
Submit questions ahead of time. You have to be
Mhm.
pre-approved, if he does them at all, which is, the fact that that's a pretty damn low bar, to be honest with you. The fact that we might be celebrating somebody for doing a pre-screened, partially pre-recorded telephone town hall. I don't think we should really be celebrating such a thing. But I understand what you're talking about compared to Mr. Perry or Mr. Muser, who don't do them at all, or someone like a Mr. Mastrano who will tell people to their face, you didn't vote for me, so I don't care what you think and I don't represent you, and tell them to F off and head in the other direction, surrounded by Proud Boys. So yeah, I mean, but I ask because it's a theme that's been coming up here with candidates repeatedly, that they just, and I do think it plays to what Bob mentioned, is that folks do sometimes they just want to vent and get it out. There is I encourage everyone to look this up, by the way. There is a video, it's gone quite viral actually, of Beto O'Rourke running for governor of Texas right now. In some parallel universe, I have no idea how, is down by 5 points. But that said, is doing a town hall like I'm sure Bob has done, standing up in front of the room, button down shirt and jeans, just talking to folks out in the crowd. A woman from the back of the room stands up, said she want to ask a question. She's wearing a red MAGA hat. When she stands up, there's immediately a smattering of boos and hisses throughout the room. Mr. O'Rourke then says, hey, cool it. Let the young lady ask a question. And she proceeds to say, very simply and in a very polite and measured tone of voice, I don't agree with you on a lot. I just wanted to know what you plan to do about addressing the crisis of mental health care here in Texas. And very politely handed the microphone back and sat down. To which Mr. O'Rourke said, you don't have to sit down. Let's talk to each other. And proceeded to explain to her how Greg Abbott has failed to take the Medicare expansion, free money from the federal government, not just for a single year, and was clear to make the point that it was for every single year going forward, and has made it harder for people to sign up for the ACA, which does cover mental health care, still not to the point that we need it, but at least it happens. And then she thanks him very much for his answer. And she appeared to be a bit emotional. So I'm guessing either she deals with it or knows someone who does, as most of us do. But then there's a second bit of the video where afterward they talk. She goes to the front of the room to talk to him. And I wanted to thank you for coming out here, making the effort to come here tonight and hear me out. And that's exactly what she says to him at the end. And she says, with her hat still on,
Sure.
and says, I still not sure that you flipped me, but thank you for talking to me.
Sure.
And he makes the point, I didn't talk to you, we talked to each other. And I'm going to try to flip you. And they had a good little giggle and they hugged it out. She went his way, she went her way, he went his. Is that, Bob, the kind of dialogue? Sounds like a dumb question, really, and an obvious question. That is the dialogue that we're desperately missing in this country. But have you been able to have that dialogue?
Affirmative. Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm talking about. And that's a great example. To finish this story, this person, the only thing I did is I challenged him on a couple of his points. And in a way I said, and the way I challenged is like, tell me more about that, as I want to learn more about it. And he really didn't have a whole lot more other than the sound bites that he had collected over a period of time. And it was an honest question for me. I really wanted to know more. I'm like, well, that's an interesting perspective. Please tell me more. And he couldn't. And so part of that is, part of the conversation does need to be active listening, but also there's a way of asking questions where you're challenging, and you can have a dialogue that way. And so I am seeing that. Further to the point, when I retired a year ago, I announced my retirement, and we were still in COVID protocols. We were still piping in public comments from the PA system. They were literally dropping in with the speakers from the ceiling. And as you know, Jeff, unless someone's standing right in front of you, they do get a little bigger muscles for what they have to say, rather than, if you're standing at the microphone in front of the school board, it's a little bit different than calling your comments in. And this woman announced who she was, and I thought, oh my, this is not good. I had known her name. We had a long relationship. She had a lot of kids who had gone through the school system, and there were some challenges. And I really thought she was just going to rail on me one more time. And her comment was, she announced her name, and she said, "I am so sorry to see Dr. Hollister go." And I was floored. And she said, he and I had spent a lot of time together, and everyone kind of laughed. We got a little chuckle out of that because we had, and we had. But then she followed up with this comment. She said, "Every time I left his office, I felt listened to and I felt respected." Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could all say that about our politicians, regardless of, and she often got no, like she often didn't get what she wanted, but she always felt respected and she always felt heard. Boy, if we could get our politicians to do that, we would move everything light years ahead again.
5:33 Eastern time here on the Kennedy Effect, our first break. We are live with you for the 28th of August, 2022. Our summer rapidly coming to an end. Although I did look at the extended forecast, it looks like 80s and 90s for the next couple of weeks. So looking pretty good, but it was interesting. Kristen and I walked down to our pool here in our development, and the sun was out. We first stepped out of the house and it was warm and humid. And then a breeze came up and I thought, ooh, well, that breeze doesn't exactly feel like it did a couple weeks ago, does it? It felt a little cool. Still obviously very warm, but the air kind of moving around has that little bit of, just a little reminder that fall is coming underneath. And the water at the pool, by the way, was a bit cooler than it has been the last couple of weeks, I can tell you that. So thank you all for being here, wherever you might be on Facebook. Stay right there if you wish. To all of the individual pages, groups, anything all the way across Facebook that allow us to be a part of your little corner of the metaverse, we thank you for allowing us to be there. We simply could not be here if you are not there. You can stay exactly where you are, listen in the background, have dinner, whatever it is that you might be doing. Please know, however, that if you want to comment or ask a question during the literally in the middle of the program, I will not see it unless you come to our home group Facebook page, that other side of information. Now, I got some comments about last week's program that I didn't see until I think the day after the program was over. I didn't even get the notification. The only reason it bothers me so much is it makes me look like I'm not trying to be attentive to you as you are actively listening to the program. Couldn't be further from the truth. Of all the great groups that we share to, and again, we couldn't be here without you. You can stay exactly where you are, continue to enjoy. But if you want to interact with us, come over to our home group Facebook page. I'm sorry for the swallows and stuff. My allergies are killing me today. Sorry, everybody. Come to our home group Facebook page, that other side of information. Sisters, brothers, friends, and family, hot101.net. Well over 100,000 listeners worldwide. And remember, Sergeant Mac, Thomas Mack, comes up right after us at 9 p.m. You should be checking out all of the great talk and the great music at hot101.net, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the TuneIn Radio app. And you can tell Alexa to play Hot 101.net and TCP, the cultured professional, right there from Lancaster. Check out tomorrow morning. I keep telling you every week that they're gonna check out the morning show, and the morning show doesn't come on. They're taking a hell of a vacation, and they deserve it because I have been there for the morning show, and it's a hell of a lot of work. So God bless them for taking the summer off. I love it. I wish I could do the same thing. But give them a peek tomorrow morning, see if the morning show is back. And our show is still, if I am not mistaken, airing Tuesday evenings on their Roku channel. If you've missed any of today's program, youtube.com/that other side of information. And we will open up the phone line later in the program. Depending on how long the gentleman can hang with us, we'll stick away, we'll hide away a little bit from the phones. If it gets longer and longer, we'll open it up and you can talk to them as well. Our plan is, how it goes. We're a little relaxed. We're a little good here. We're relaxed. We're good. It's summer. We're relaxed. And if anybody's enjoying this lovely, like, gross thing happening here, there's never a healthy day, guys. There's never a healthy day. I don't know what the heck this thing is. I would, all I know is it's an allergy day. My eye is bothering me, something fierce. I'm out of breath. I have no idea where that's coming from. Always great when the radio guy's running out of breath right in the middle of a monologue. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good, but it's a thing. Noah, if I could ask you, please, from your perspective, from somebody who's at these events with Bob, but yet off side stage, if you will, taking it in from a different perspective, what have you been seeing on the trail? Have the events, have they been the respectful exchange that we used to expect in our discourse? Has there been some, rogue elements out there? Has there been any? What have you seen? Because I've been where you are. I've done it. So and I've been where Bob is. I've been both. So you do take these events in from different points of view. What have you been seeing from where you position yourself during these events?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, when we have these events, most people who kind of want to come to, a Democratic candidate for Congress or Democrats. So we do have a lot of independents and Republicans. For the most part, everybody is there to listen. I mean, not to toot Bob's horn, but I mean, he really does command a room. I mean, most people are kind of honed in on a certain few issues at this point, Roe v. Wade, gun violence. I would say anybody who really kind of has a button to push, usually they'll make it known in kind of a policy issue. But for the most part, I mean, the dialogue maintains a air of respectability. I mean, we haven't been in, I would say, a really unfriendly room yet. I mean, there has been some events, where people want some answers, certain communities that, do have problems, and it is kind of harder to answer some more pointed questions when it comes to, basketball courts in Lancaster City or something like that, which is a big deal for people. But I would say from a top-down
The
approach,
quality of life issue.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, how much effect your congressman has in that, can be up in the air. But on the big issues, I mean, even the independents and some of the Republicans that we have there who are willing to listen, I mean, on things that you touched, gun violence issues, most people are on the same page about what we need to do, red flag laws, banning bump stocks, more in-depth stuff like that. But yeah, I would say most of the people are just there to listen. We've done walkthroughs, and I know Bob's done a lot of, canvassing and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people are just, I think, even unaware sometimes about, who their congressman is or what's going on, whether it's a willful ignorance or a, life's busy for everybody. So, I mean, I think at least in these, it's refreshing to see people finally have some kind of input in civic engagement, regardless at the level they're coming into with knowledge.
If I missed the answer, if we didn't get to fully explore it, Noah, what brings you to this world? And what brought you to Bob? I quite frankly, we've had some exchanges over the week, but I don't know your personal history. Is this a life commitment for you, and you happen to find Bob along the way, or did you know Bob previously and you believe in him and you want to help? What brings Noah to this very, I was going to say screwed up world. I guess it is kind of a screwed up world, but this in this very firestorm laden world of politics, what brings you to this?
Yeah, I mean, I went to school for politics. My first political internship was in
Shout out, what school did
2016
you go to?
at Gettysburg College. Go
There you
Boys.
go.
And yeah, so I
Please give
entered.
the alma mater a shout. Come on.
But yeah, since 2016, so it was a strange time to enter politics. But just one of those things where once you're in
Yeah.
it, people are always looking for, competent people who want to help out. I was working with a prior uh, individual politician before, and we kind of ran into each other. And it's one of those things. Once you kind of have your name in somebody's ear, you're kind of there. Especially like we've said before, it's oftentimes long hours, not a lot of money, and like I said, when I met with Bob to kind of talk more about joining him, I mean, it was trying to get a sense of whether you believe in this person, and I really do, and especially when you're talking local, politics. I mean, this is U.S. Congress, but I mean, it's a very specific area. I mean, it just seemed like a good shot at doing something good, which I think deep down, most people who
But it is
hopefully,
kind of local though, isn't it?
Mhm.
No, isn't it a little bit of both? If I may, that
Mhm.
Bob's running for a federal. I'm talking about Bob, but he's not here. He's sitting right there. But is yeah, sorry, Bob. But
Do you
I
guys
mean,
want me to leave for a little bit and really open it up?
he's running for a federal level office, but he's running for that office from this piece,
Yeah,
not just of the country,
Yeah.
but of Pennsylvania. It is, in an odd way, a local office.
sure.
Mhm.
Jeff, somebody said it a long time ago, all politics is local. And as Noah said, not understanding how their representation works, federal positions versus local versus city. I'm thinking about some of our walks here in Lancaster City. Folks really don't know who to go to get some of their answers, and find solutions. And as Noah said, at the street level, it's parking tickets and basketball courts. That's what's on people's minds. And so I get that. Education is always a thing. If you've got kids, you care about your schools. And so we talk about that a little bit. Zip code
But
shouldn't.
that basketball court might be something that you're able to secure funding for.
Right. And so that's the chain that has to be established. How does something at the federal level trickle all the way down to that local neighborhood
Oh, don't use
that makes a huge difference? Sure it does. And that's why it's important for a politician to walk the streets, literally walk the streets. And we did. And I learned a lot. I've been very humbled by a lot of what I've seen. I've been humbled by the people I've met who are so much more intelligent and passionate than I. There are some good people out there, some good Americans out there still working for all of us.
How important is not just Noah specifically to you, Bob, but a Noah to
Mhm.
a Bob Hollister?
It's incredibly important. I mean, if you start thinking about just the knowledge base that a congressperson needs to have. I'm coming from the school superintendent where I was an expert in a number of areas, but I count on my team to help grow me and help point me in the right direction on all kinds of policy issues that I need to get familiar with. I need to learn. The learning curve when you get into politics at this level is enormous. And Noah this weekend sending me emails. Hey, you got to think about this. Hey, you're on the radio Sunday night. These are the things you might, so he's doing that for me, because I'm out there carrying the message, trying to raise money, and be the face of the campaign. I count on Noah and the team to steer me.
Tell me about that distinction, Bob, because there's a lot of it's one of the places where I have significant blowback from abrasion with progressives and progressive candidates, especially first time coming from the activist realm candidate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of that is that you now, well, in your previous job, though, you were as well.
Sure.
public figure, but you're
Public figure.
really a public figure now.
Mhm.
You don't get to show up just about anywhere in your PJs anymore. You're a public figure.
I know, and
People know who you are.
that was something I really enjoyed doing too. Going out,
I mean,
going to
you
the
don't
Home
even-
Depot in the bathrobe, you know.
But you might go to the grocery store where you live, which was not in the district that you were serving, and you could be pretty anonymous. You're
Yep.
not really going anywhere anymore and being anonymous. And all of us, even the most deep agenda, the most suspect among us, the most unwitting and unknowing among us. You mentioned how much you have to learn about this yourself. We're all reporters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
Tell me about becoming a politician.
So far, so good. Now, as you said, as a superintendent, and I had 13 and a half years here. So when I retired, I was the senior superintendent. So I had a lot of FaceTime on cameras, in the newspaper. And so I was fairly comfortable with that. This is a little different. This is now, I was walking at a festival down in the southern part of our city, and I had my name tag on. I have a little plate that I wear around the festivals, and someone caught it, and he goes, "Hey, I know who you are." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, which direction is this conversation going to go?" Now, he turned out to be real supportive, but that's different. And you're absolutely right. Going to a restaurant now, people look at you, and it's not like it used to be. And so you have to be comfortable with that. But I would also say that we've got to be careful as a society that we give all of our politicians a little room too, to be fair to them. I think some of the stuff that's been going on, both on the left and the right, where folks are kind of attacking our politicians in public, that's not okay. I mean, we want to see our politicians in public, and if they continue to be attacked, we're not going to see them.
Do you mean a little bit of room insofar as, we're insofar as, hey, we're human beings. Sometimes we might just be trying to have a hot dog at the hot dog stand with the kids, or because it also, I know there's that, but it also seems like if you're giving a speech somewhere, or even if you just happen to be walking down the community street fair, farmer's market, and someone asks you a question and you say, blue instead of blue green, that they're jumping on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Without putting words in your mouth, are you trying to remind us that you're a human? Because you are. Because politicians are not robots. You're not pre-programmed.
Yeah.
You're not. Noah doesn't take a chip and change it in your brain when you're going from talking to the PTA to the W.
Right.
I mean, you're still Bob Hollister.
And again, it's part of the conversation we need to have as a country. As far left as some folks are, and as far right, it doesn't entitle you to attack that person if you're if it's on either side. Some of the judges who have been accosted recently, our Supreme Court justice. Again, I agree with the folks' positions who are kind of doing the attacking, but I don't agree with attacking. If the judge is out with his wife for dinner, or God forbid, in my case, I've got 2 young daughters, and we're sitting there, that's not an appropriate time to take up your issue. If I'm walking through the market and you recognize me, that might be a little bit more okay. But the intimacy of, for example, a dinner or a movie or a theater, we've got to start respecting some of those boundaries for all politicians. Again, regardless of whether I agree with positions or not positions, there does need to be a level of respect for the role.
So when you are, give me a little bit before we get to the top of the hour. I'm hoping we can jump into more of the issue-oriented things, perhaps after the top of the hour reset. Tell me about either of you, or both of you. Tell me about a day in the life. I imagine Saturdays and Sundays are different because they're weekends, and it's still when the majority of Americans are not working is weekends. But what's a day in the life? You wake up in the morning. What happens? Noah and you set the alarm for I'm sure you sleep in till like 5:30 in the morning. And then like what what is the, what happens? Is it immediately the phone rings and the two of you start to plan the day? Is it emails back and forth? Do you have face to face? Do you meet at the office? Is it, what's a
Yeah.
day in the life like?
So there is no office. We can't afford an office. I'm coming from the back room of my house. Noah actually has a full-time job, and so he's doing this on odd moments and odd hours. There is no typical day. I mean, I can just think about my schedule tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I've got emails first thing, couple calls for the week with my campaign director, Mary Grill. We have a 9 o'clock meeting, a 9:30 meeting. I have call time all afternoon trying to raise funds, and I have I have a lit drop tomorrow night. That's tomorrow's schedule. The next day, it could be meetings, it could be meet and greets, fundraisers. Weekends are not immune. Last night, I was at a fair here in Lancaster County. We get out, and so at this point, the campaign is all but 7 days a week. I mean, the meet and greets are on the weekends. For me especially, Jeff, we don't have the money to do lots and lots of commercials. We just don't. That's just reality. So we're really trying to the personal touch out of default, but the personal touch is what I would choose to do anyway. So we're spending a lot of time walking around and going to fairs and festivals and arts and craft shows and all those kinds of things. And Noah, he's doing a lot of evening time. I'll let Noah talk a little bit about his schedule and how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just coming from my role, but I mean, a lot of it is doing the back end work. I mean, me and our campaign director, I mean, we put things on Bob's calendar, and for the most part, besides briefing him or calling, on high important stuff, I mean, he shows up. We have everything set in the background. When we have a fundraiser or a meet and greet or an event, we're there before, making sure that everything runs smoothly. He knows, who he needs to be talking to. And it's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I mean, working in such a large district with a large, diverse group and different interest groups. I mean, it's just maintaining relationships. I mean, making sure that, people who are doing the lit drops tomorrow that Bob's doing have all the materials they need and everything is just in place. So it's a pretty wide array of stuff. We try and take off as much as we can off of Bob's plate in terms of logistical stuff, but I mean, there is a lot that he does, and I mean, some days it's, from when you wake up until you go to bed, you're doing stuff. So
yeah, Jeff, and it's interesting. Like I don't even know what's on my calendar a week from now because Noah and Mary are just loading it up, and it doesn't behoove me to even look a week ahead. I'm looking at the current week. I know where I need to be. But beyond that, it's going to change. In fact, we had a little glitch in our first phone call just to touch base. I didn't have something on my schedule. Mary put it on 24 hours, and I had a conflict, with a personal thing. We had to change it. And she texted me, goes, "Hey, I want you to make sure you saw the 12 o'clock or the 10 o'clock tomorrow." And of course, I hadn't seen it. And so we're the day to day in terms of the schedule and the way it unfolds. It's kind of fun. It's exhilarating, but it's not without its challenges.
No, one of my favorite phrases is that nobody, especially in these economic times, can identify with better how to stretch a dollar than a Democratic candidate for just about anything running against a Republican incumbent.
Yeah.
No one knows how to make more with a single dollar. Tell me about, Bob's already mentioned a couple times about the money difference between yourselves and Mr. Smucker. And I imagine, and you could plug in any name for Mr. Smucker. It could be Snoopy, it could be Godzilla, it could be anything. Republican incumbents have money and lots of it, and they don't even always spend all of it because they don't have to. But then even if they did spend all of it, they would just get millions more from somewhere, like the Commonwealth Foundation or Koch Network or anywhere in between. Tell me about stretching a dollar.
So first of all, a couple of things. Most of the campaign team are volunteers. My campaign director, in fact, is a volunteer, and she's working as hard as I am every day. Noah's working extremely hard, but he's doing extra hours. Like he's got a full-time job. And then beyond that,
I will give you a discount to come down and give speeches.
Okay, thank
Fine.
you.
Fine. Fine, you talked me into
Thank you.
it.
So what we're doing is, and I don't want to get too far into the campaign strategy, but
No,
I'll just
I
say
don't need. Yeah, no, I'm not.
yeah,
I'm just.
we're targeting our dollars, and we're being smart. We're customizing our messages, and we're customizing how those messages are delivered. And we're using me. I have the luxury of being able to campaign all day, every day, since I intentionally retired to run a campaign where I could meet people. And so we are counting on the personal touch.
You don't know how big that is, too, because I happen to know your compatriot, your colleague Amanda Waldman in the 15th. She still works a full-time job. It's the end of August, and she's still
That's
working a
hard.
full-time
That's
job running against a ridiculously well-financed seditionist
yeah,
Republican incumbent. I
right.
mean, it's a
Yeah, that's
big,
tough.
big deal.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, that's
You
tough.
tell
Yeah.
me, you tell me, Noah, about running I mean, you're doing it, you're working a full-time job and doing this, which is yeoman's work. I mean, it's actually part of what makes the system operate. I think we tend to not think of things like that. It's easy to look at Bob. He's the candidate. I think a lot of people continue to, at the risk of being repetitive, I think a lot of people continue to look at that's where the campaign stops. Bob just wakes up in the morning and shows up at these things, and lit and yard signs miraculously appear at his door and things like that. And tell me about stretching a dollar.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you. I mean, obviously, social media is relatively newer in terms of how campaigns run. If you look at the long, 100 years of modern political history, but it just becomes a little bit more. It, I wouldn't say it's nice because it obviously be nice to just run TV ads and run it, but it makes things a little more look at it tactfully, especially with the amount of volunteers and the size of the staff. I mean, it makes it that we are focusing on only doing important stuff. There's not a lot of space, time, or money that we have to, waste per se. I mean, obviously, money or time for, any kind of constituent is good to put that there, but um, it makes things a little more interesting. It definitely makes you try and reinvent the wheel. I mean, in terms of targeting, since we don't have that amount of money to broadcast to everybody, we do have to have more of a concentrated plan that I think benefits us in a way that we aren't, don't get comfortable or lackadaisical about it, and I think we're hoping that, the incumbent with all the money is going to be somewhat lackadaisical and rest on his laurels.
Yeah, we're counting on, we have a pretty good army of volunteers across both Lancaster County and Southern York County. And the district leaders of the Democratic parties in both are coordinating and really communicating well the distribution plan for literature and the message, trying to get that message out. We do believe that the moderate message that we have, sort of a moderate Democrat, former Republican. We haven't talked about that very much, Jeff, but I was a lifelong Republican up until the insurrection and the attempted coup. And that's what pushed me to a different place. Well, it's the final straw to push me to a different place. So we are counting on a whole lot of really great Democrats who are going literally door to door, dropping our literature off and carrying our message.
How important is it that a campaign like yours, you're benefiting from the added attention that a Senate race and a gubernatorial race gives you? I think any candidate is benefiting from that, to be honest, on both sides of the aisle. They're benefiting from that. How important is it that you share resources and or connect and or coordinate with the other elections that are happening around you? There are there are however many state reps that are running, that overlap into your congressional district. There are state Senate seats. I don't know if there are any local municipal elections. That usually happens in odd years, but not always. How important is something like that?
Critically important, and we recognize that. That's one of the things that we have been intentional about. And I say we, I mean we, the Democratic Party of Lancaster and York counties. We know that up and down the ticket matters, and we're coordinating our lit drops with the state candidates, and also have communicated up the ticket to the Fetterman and Shapiro campaigns. I think that's something we don't always do well. We, meaning the Democratic Party. And we really have been intentional about making sure we have pictures together with me and the state candidates and me and the up ticket folks, and we're using that on social media. So it is really important that we have that consolidated message and that appearance that we're working together, because we are.
6:01 Eastern Time. It is the Kennedy Effect live for the 28th of August, 2022. Wherever you might be across the Facebook universe, come on over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, and you can join the conversation. I have a couple comments in here that I need to share with the gentlemen, or stay where you are, because we are glad, we are fortunate, very fortunate and very grateful to every single group, page, and individual who allows this show to be part of their little corner of the Facebook universe. But again, our home group Facebook page is That Other Side of Information. And please remember that our Facebook page, never shuts down. Check us out every single day. See the articles that we post. It's not just the show. Obviously, the show is the cornerstone of it. But it's not just that. We post articles every single day on things like environmental issues, obviously politics, but also animal welfare and advocacy, all that. Just check us out. Be a part of it. We want you to be a part of it. Hot101.net name is our website, and Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the TuneIn Radio app. And I forgot something. Oh, tell Alexa. How would I forget Alexa? Alexa. We forgot America's favorite game show. One of these days, I'm going to trigger your Alexa on your end. There, somebody out there in the listening universe, I'm going to trigger your Alexa, and you're going to find us and hear our show. And TCP, look out for the morning show again tomorrow morning. Well, Bob, you opened up that can of Pringles, so let me ask you. You were a self-identified Republican up until recently. The fact that it would take. Let's set the attempt. Oh, by the way, let me ask you a question. You know what an attempted coup is called, correct?
No, is there a joke here?
Practice.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's called practice.
Yeah, I got you.
So you considered yourself a Republican? Awesome. At least you were involved in the process. Why?
So
what policy wise led you to Republican representation and or voting habits, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Born and raised here in Lancaster County. When I was born and raised here, Republicans were really all there were. There were very, very few Democrats, probably 12% maybe, and very few independents. Those percentages have changed dramatically here in the county. It's about 50% Republicans now and about 32% Democrats. But born and raised that way, raised Roman Catholic, and I will tell you that Mom and Dad did a great job of sheltering me. That's what their generation thought they were supposed to do. My first day on the job in public school in Bordertown Area School District in Berks County was a real eye opener for me. I saw discrimination, I saw inequality, I saw inequity pretty quickly, and so I really, fortunately, I was wise enough, or I got coached by some good mentors to keep my eyes open and my ears open, and I learned and I grew. And so my journey to being Democratic, at least on the social issues, started my first year in teaching. And I will tell you, I've never pulled straight ticket. I never believed in that. I always pulled the best person my whole life. But as the Republican Party continued to get more and more fundamentally conservative, and I learned and evolved and grew, and sort of learned that social issues are real, and they're real. There are real problems that we have in this country that we've ignored. And so I became more and more passionate about those. And I still retain some of those Republican values. And I don't think that of the old party of being fiscally responsible, that was something that Republicans always touted. I will be the first to admit I'm still capitalist. I think capitalism works with proper social supports and proper policies. I think capitalism can be good for us. And so I kind of come in there. But it was the insurrection. It was the insurrection. It was January 6th that we all saw what happened, but more importantly, January 7th, when every Republican didn't come out and condemn in no uncertain terms and immediately what happened on the 6th, including my opponent who voted against certifying the elections, I was done. That was the final straw. And that's when I started talking to friends and said, this is what I'm thinking about doing.
So what would you then list as, I believe you gentlemen need to leave me around the bottom of the hour at some point, in that neighborhood of the bottom of the hour. What do you point to as the, we kind of talked a bit about the culture of campaigning and the culture, if you will, if I'm using even the right word, you might even disagree with the word, of what got you involved in this in the first place. What are the issues that you considered? Let's see if there's a contrast. Maybe there won't be. Maybe the two lists will be exactly the same. The top issues that you found yourself originally running on, as opposed to maybe what you're hearing while you're campaigning.
That's it. Okay, that's a good question, Jeff. So Roe v. Wade upset the apple cart in terms of, it's interesting. The messages I was really talking about prior to the Roe v. Wade and afterwards have changed. Prior to Roe v. Wade, I was still focusing on immigration and talking about what we should be doing there, could be doing education, environment. And now we've added some really, really important stuff like saving democracy and voting rights. Like, who even thought that was going to be an issue? When I started this campaign, that wasn't something we were even thinking about. So even my message in 6 months has changed in terms of priorities and what's important. And that says a lot about where we are as a country. We truly are, and every election is the most important election, but we are in one of those pivotal election years this year and 2024.
I think that's part, if I might use the gentle lady as an example, I think that's part of what folks, especially on the Democratic side, not enough of them on the on the Republican side, sadly, are missing about Mrs. Cheney is that she continued to vote with the Trump agenda 93+% of the time. But because she had the backbone to say, wait, one guy doesn't just wipe away 140 million people voting in an election. That's not how system doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah.
And she's being drummed out of your former party for it. I would go a little further, Bob, respectfully. We can disagree, and God bless us for it. I don't believe that the Republican Party is even a functioning political party anymore at this point. The Republican Party voted during its last national convention to have no platform whatsoever. That whatever Donald Trump felt like tweeting about that, or whatever he does at this point, bloviating about that day, is the platform. This is not a functioning political party. It's a corporation whose sole purpose seems to be to steer wealth toward the top 1%. The top 1% has enjoyed a $55 trillion transfer of wealth from the rest of us just in the Reagan era, and it's somehow not enough money. When does that stop? This isn't even a functioning political party at this point, is it? They don't talk issues anymore. It's the daily outrage. Oh, dear God, that trans kid might buy a cake at a baker. What are we talking about here? What the hell are we talking about here?
Yeah. No, you're right on. Smoke and mirrors. Look what's going on over here in this hand, so you don't see what's going on in this hand, really. That's really,
dear God. Thank you, because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's that let's not, if I'm punching you in the stomach, you're probably not going to feel the hand pulling your wallet out of the back pocket.
Yeah. No, that's true. I agree with you, Jeff.
I mean, even if you consider yourself a little more, a little more, I'm going to really mix terms up, folks out there in the audience. I hope you can stick with me. Even if you were to consider yourself more of a conservative Democrat, so to speak, we can admit Republicans, this corporation now, because it seems to me that the party officials and the party electeds, their only raison d'etre is how can we get more money into the hands of the people who write us campaign checks. It's the best investment in the country. some of these donors are some of these donors are 10,000 to 1 return on their money.
Mhm.
That we can at least agree. I think you and I agree on a lot more. I'm just saying, for the sake of the question, we can at least agree that something in the system is fundamentally wrong. When one party has no platform, no issues, no leadership, no guidance, no plan, and that the richest 3 people in the country have the same wealth as the bottom 2/3. Something's wrong.
Mhm. Yeah, agree.
Do you agree? How much of what has come out of the Biden administration so far, which folks, whether you like it or not, and I know some progressives don't, I don't think it's enough. Okay. Okay. Perfect can't be the enemy of the good. Okay. Has been the most progressive probably since the Great Society. How much of what has come out of the Biden administration in the first 2 years are you, Bob Hollister, saying I'm with it? I'm there, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there.
Yeah.
And what might you not agree with?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think in the last couple of months, the Biden administration has really achieved a lot of victories. And when I say the Biden administration, I mean Congress too. All of a sudden, honestly, Washington is functioning again in the last 2 or 3 months. They're working together. They're compromising. Not everybody's liking everything they're getting, but everybody's getting a little something. And so, whether it's Joe Biden's leadership or the team he has around him, which we know it in part it is, things are getting done. I think it's easy to, and I've been the victim of this as a school superintendent. It's easy to do Monday morning quarterback on any number of issues. Certainly everyone still is concerned, as am I, about the withdrawal from Afghanistan. That certainly could have gone better. I think everyone was disappointed. I think it caught the Biden administration off guard. I have mixed feelings on the debt relief. I know that's a controversial thing for this weekend, and then that will go away in another two weeks, and there'll be something else. But yeah, I would say a good part of it I do support. I think he's done a great job putting money in the right places, investing. There's a difference between throwing money out there and investing, and there's been investing, and investing's okay. And so I'm pretty in line with a lot of what's happening. Again, some of the far left stuff I'm not so supportive of. But far right is also an area that's not functioning either.
What part of it is do you think that? Well, let me back up. Just the overall. You kind of mentioned it, but let me reinforce what you said with a question anyway. The re-functioning of government, or not refound, that's not the right word. Once again, finding functionality in government, given the language of your own website, must be something that you are thrilled to see. Am I correct?
I am. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of wins for a lot of. There's been wins for the people the last 2 months, and indirectly then wins for a whole bunch of politicians on both sides of the aisle because of that. And again, I love your line, Jeff. Perfect is the enemy of okay or good, however you say that.
Yeah.
If we keep trying for perfect, that's part of the problem. It's a
But we've
messy
seen it a
business.
lot with the student debt relief.
Right.
And again, student debt by and large didn't even exist before the Reagan era.
Right. Yeah.
Colleges and universities in California were free until Reagan became governor there. There was functionally no student debt issue in this country until Reagan decided that colleges and universities could be profitable. And therefore they got more and more expensive and more. This idea that seems to be promulgating itself, sadly, in the more progressive circles, or self-identified progressive circles, to be fair, that somehow $10,000 isn't enough. I remember something very, very basic that my father taught me. I got my very first full-time job when I was a junior in high school. I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my very first. At that point, the minimum wage. I'm going to date myself here, gang. I hope you're all sitting down.
black and the bold. I could never picture doing a program like this that without going to the local radio station, by the way, without literally going to the local radio station. But was $3.35 an hour. And I got my first raise up to $3.50 an hour. And I thought to myself, 15 cents. That's nothing. I'm being disrespected. I'm being taken advantage of here, et cetera, et cetera. Small family owned candy distributorship, obviously not unioned, not a union shop. And I remember going back to my dad and saying, this isn't fair. This is terrible. This is nothing. Why would I even take? So he got out a piece of paper and we wrote it all down. Remember the old days? We got out a piece of paper and we wrote it all down. And he showed me how much money a week that was. And I can't do that math in my head, but even as many times as I've told the story, I can't do that math in my head. And he said, so if I took that he goes, we got it down. I think it ended up being, I don't know, it was in the $50 range or something. And he said, if I handed you $50 in an envelope, would you take it? I said, well, of course I'd take it. I said, well, why would you take it? He says, because $50 is a lot of money. He goes, yes, it is.
Mhm.
And then he held the paper up. He said, now what did we just show right here? So 10,000, would you take $10,000 if somebody handed it to you in an envelope? Especially an underfunded Democratic candidate against the
Yeah,
So it is a lot of money, and perfect cannot be the enemy of the good.
yeah.
The fact is, what this has shown, I think, Bob, what this has shown is not that we went too far or we didn't go far enough. I think what it's shown is, why the hell is there a student debt problem in the first place?
Yeah.
Why the hell is college something that has to be profitable? Some of the highest paid public employees, in fact, I'm pretty sure the last I saw this, it's been a while, the highest paid public employee in every single state in the nation is a football coach for the state university. Why do we have a student debt problem? I like American football as much as anybody else. Well, no, I really don't. I like real football a lot better, but why isn't the real issue, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't, isn't the real issue not the 10,000 in relief? And because it's not forgiveness, these folks didn't do anything wrong by going to school. We're not forgiving them anything. We are relieving them of economically crippling debt. But isn't the real issue here, why the hell does college cost so much in the first place?
Yeah, that's a real issue. Yeah, why does it cost so much? It's got to be within reach if that's the choice people want to make. But I will also tell you that, part of my belief system is that there are other, and this is a conversation that we should have. So I understand helping folks get started in college. Where do we draw the line between that and someone who's choosing a technical trade? Do we buy someone a plumbing truck that's outfitted to do plumbing? Do we buy someone who wants to be a paver, a dump truck, and a trailer, or do we do that at a low interest or no interest kind of thing? And what help us all understand that line, Jeff, because I do think there is some merit in these multiple pathways to family thriving careers that don't necessarily mean college.
Aren't we conflating two issues though? We don't buy the medical student diagnostic tools,
right?
but we can relieve the debt. We're not going to buy an apprentice plumber the truck, but we can help that, we can relieve some of the cost of the apprenticeship.
Okay. And that's the conversation we should be having, because I do think there's other learning institutions, whether it be a union apprenticeship, are we going to help pay for those? CTC extensions, some of the voc technical schools require some of those trades to go another summer or another half year. Should we be picking that up? And I think that's a conversation. I don't know that we have a definitive answer about that right now, but I do feel that in general, my general belief is education should be paid for, or it should be at a very, very doable cost. And that education, Jeff, is college, it's apprenticeships, it's training, it's even that credentialing that occurs several years. And there's another question: how many years, once someone's into a trade, do we help offset additional training? If I'm working for a hospital, at what point does the hospital pick up training? Should government pick up training? I don't know. I think these are open-ended questions. These are discussion points, but I'm
Do
all
you
for.
think there's a significant lack of tradespeople in shortage? Shortage is
Huge.
probably a much better
Huge.
word.
Yes,
Shortage of tradespeople in this country.
absolutely.
Because we have, to a great extent, convinced, and I think again, it's to drive profit, to be plain. It's to drive profit. We've convinced the overwhelming majority of folks, and that's, no attack on Noah's degree, but we've convinced the overwhelming preponderance of high school students that you get nothing in life without a college degree. And even going back to the 90s, when we were all going to be computer programmers, I don't know if 90% of the population was programming a computer, I don't know who the hell was using them, but that's beside the point.
Mhm.
How important is it then, Bob? Well, let me take it back. So we convinced these people these kids, they need to go to college. They can't get anywhere without it. We have a severe shortage of tradespeople in this country. Yet at the same time, Republicans, the private sector was unionized at a 37.4% rate
Mhm.
when Reagan came to power. It is now under 5%.
Mhm.
If we want to do what you're talking about, and I think we should, a free country has options.
Mhm.
How much do we need to bolster unions then, as a former union man yourself, to provide and help them provide these apprenticeships and these alternate or different pathways into honest, solid, family sustaining, paying the bills, buy a home type careers?
Yeah, so yes, that's exactly right. And we say family thriving careers, Jeff. I mean, that family sustaining always sounded to be minimal to me. I like, in at my school district, used the phrase family thriving careers because it implies that we're going to be able to get a boat someday, we're going to get a camper someday, or we're going to get to Disney World once a year, whatever it is. And there's a career
FDR's
ladder.
economic bill of rights that you deserved a vacation, for goodness sake.
Yeah, the whole, and the career ladder piece where I'm going to be able to get into a place where I can keep growing and keep credentialing and keep learning. And so absolutely, I think that's what's fair for one is fair for the other. And I think that's probably where this conversation should go. Yes, we gave money, or we provided relief to a whole lot of college educated folks, but where else should we be providing that relief? And is it in those trade areas and training and helping out unions to get back to strength and back to the middle class that we really rode on, coming out of the World War II, and the 50s and 60s. That's when we had that strong middle class, and we really were, we were going to the moon. We were doing all those things that I think America longs for again.
We had the largest middle class, not just by population, but by percentage of our population. So per capita, so to speak. That is now China, and in both measures, by the way, because we took our economy and we sent it wholesale over to them, so that we could send them. We could send them all of our raw materials. They could make cheap stuff for us at slave labor wages and sometimes no wages, and ship it back here because it was cheaper. And we also eliminated all of our tariffs, so that when they imported that stuff again, there were no tariffs on it. But what about unionization? When I think of unionization, I tend to also think up as an entry into environmental policy. There are some unions right here in our own Commonwealth that think if they're not welding pipelines, they're not working.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
I think, yeah, they are, because if you can weld a pipeline, you can weld the stanchion for a wind turbine. You
Mhm.
can weld the frame on the roof of a private home for solar panels. You can weld a car park covering cars in an office complex that also happens to be solar panels. Where do
Sure.
you come down in the greater environmental debate? Are you happy to see the massive investment that came out of the last reconciliation bill? Do you think that's a good thing? Where are you in the general or greater environmental debate?
Very, very, very much in favor of what we can do to bolster our environment, to get away from fossil fuels. But I believe in a migration. You know, sometimes I think we try to hit home runs with some of that stuff, and it's a little more difficult. You know, union is a great example. You know, I talked to some union folks, and sure, they'd be happy to leave the coal mines. They'd be happy to leave them behind. But the problem is they have to start at the bottom of the pay scale when they jump over to wind turbines. So there's another area where we could provide some of that relief that we've been talking about, so that those 30-year miners aren't going over to wind turbines. And this is simplistic, but you know, going over to wind turbines and losing half their salary. We've got to bridge that. We also have to do something about possibly relocating folks, because the mines aren't where the best place is to have wind turbines. So, you know, there's things we can do there, to protect the environment and also protect jobs. It's not a bifurcated choice. Yeah,
Is
it's
it
not one or the other.
is it again about priorities? You know, I think one of the smartest and most salient things Speaker Pelosi's ever said, and I know she wasn't first, but for some reason, I always see her at the podium, you know, at the press room at Capitol Hill saying it, you know, that you know, a budget is a statement of your priorities.
Mhm.
This isn't about putting new money in the system so much as it is redirecting it. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania every single year gives $3.2 billion in free money to the fossil fuel industry.
Mhm.
Yet we still pay $4 a gallon for gas, and there's only about 25,000 fossil fuel jobs in this state. There's almost 100,000 green energy jobs.
Mhm.
500+ billion is given to the fossil fuel industry on a national basis. Senator Sanders says it's more like 800 billion, and it's
Mhm.
about $5.5 trillion worldwide. You really put that money into it, we should all be paying about 75 cents for gas.
Mhm.
So are we talking about I don't think you're talking about it. And by the way, I'm not talking about it. I don't think we're talking about new money, but just deciding where we're going to spend money that we're spending. And if I have to, subsidize has actually become a dirty word, but if I have
Right,
to
right,
support,
right.
if I have to support a young man, young girl, a young lady who wants to be a plumber and pay a bit of the cost of that apprenticeship with the plumbers union or the pipe fitters union, or wants to be a carpenter, the carpenters union, or drywall or mason, or you know,
Whatever.
these home
Yeah,
building skills, I'm happy to do that.
right.
Why am I subsidizing the biggest corporations on earth when Joe or Jane can't scrape up or can't live on an apprentice salary, but they're going to be the next generation of house builders?
Right. Yeah, we're in agreement there, Jeff. Exactly. Yep, saying the same thing.
I don't think we got to flush out, Noah, what between Bob's top, because I think I cut you off in the middle of the answer, and I apologize for that. I do that way too much, but it's a big character flaw. I do it way too much. But when something pops in up here, and if I don't say it, sometimes I lose it. It just floats away, and that's why we all look up here for the answers. That's why, because they float up in this cloud above us. Almost
We know how, I know how that works, Jeff. I have the same
like
cloud
a
here.
cartoon, like a
Yeah.
cartoon. It's up here somewhere.
All
But
right.
no, I
Excellent.
don't think we got to flush out between Bob's top issues and what you all as a team are hearing on the out on the trail. Have you found that those issues are meshing, or have you found that you have to add language to what you talk about on a daily basis, or has an issue come up that you guys didn't even really think was that big of a thing, like and now it is one? How are you, from your point of view, how do those two lists, here's my priorities and here's what we're seeing out there, how are those two lists comparing to each other.
Yeah, I think everything, that we have on our website and that we talk about on a daily basis and the stuff that we've talked on here, I mean, definitely depending on who you talk to, certain minor things will be more important. When you get into the nitty gritty, like union jobs, obviously the union folks are going to care more about that. But I would say most of the stuff is at the forefront. I think sometimes maybe the language changes. I know that when we have conversations with different groups, different communities, they inform us on, sometimes how we should maybe approach the topic of conversation. Um, you know, as Bob kind of said, everything that we talk about, we might not be experts on. I certainly don't claim to be an expert on every kind of policy that we go back and forth with our campaign people on. So getting some more information and kind of coming to an agreeable point with certain groups like unions, like certain members of minority communities. I mean, I think there are some focus that maybe we don't have an eye on, but the overall broad topics, I would say for the most part, if they're engaging with us as a Democratic campaign, we're on the same, broad strokes. Maybe some of the minutia we need to hash out, but yeah, I would say we've never really been caught broadsided, by folks.
Yeah, I would agree.
6:30 Eastern Time. This is the Kennedy Effect live for the 28th of August, 2022. Wherever you are on Facebook, that other side of information is our home group Facebook page. Come check us out. You can send comments and so on in there. A couple I should really get to, Gary Brown, especially. My apologies for not getting to your comments so much. Come on over. That other side of information. Hot101.net website, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, Tune In, radio app, and tell Alexa to play hot101.net and TCP. Look out for the morning show tomorrow. I keep saying that every week, and yet they're still on vacation, but hopefully they'll be there tomorrow morning and I won't look so dumb. Look out for them tomorrow morning. TCP, the culture professional, right from the heart of Lancaster. Bob, what have you learned so far at being a candidate? What have you learned about you? What have you learned about people? Is there a particular story? Is there an issue that you didn't know about before? I know I kind of asked Noah that, but what have you learned so far?
I've learned that, oh boy, I think Noah alluded to this earlier. There is not just misinformation. Some folks just don't know, haven't plugged into politics at all. They don't understand the levels of representation. They don't understand even who, in some cases, their representative is. And we could be talking about state positions. So there is a little bit of lack of overall engagement in politics. And I'm not sure why that is. If it's, as Noah said earlier, it's just people are trying to survive the day and just don't have time, or if they have just given up on politics and say, it's not working for them. But there does seem to be a certain apathy about it. Now, I will also say that it's early in the campaign. I mean, the campaign, summertime isn't the time when people really want to talk politics either. So it'll be interesting to see in September if people get engaged. But right now, the overall sense I have is there's not too many people who really are unengaged or uninformed.
Are we talking like civics education, like from a civic
Yes,
standpoint?
I am. Yeah, I'm, and as a as a school superintendent, I take responsibility for some of that. Although part of the problem is the standardized testing that we've had for 2 decades now, and social studies is not a part of that standardized testing. And so school districts have really trimmed some of their civics education to
Well, it
make
goes
sure
back
that,
to Reagan. It's the first thing they attacked. When he appointed Bill Bennett as Secretary of Education, they attacked civics
yeah.
because it's
So
hard to complain about how your government is operating if you don't understand your government.
yeah, and so I think we're wearing that a little bit as a country, and it's sort of in part helped put us where we are, and so that's a frustration, I guess. On the flip side of that, though, I have met some incredibly devout Americans devoted to American ideals, passionate, smart, giving of their time. You know, there's just a lot of good souls out there, and that's what gives me hope, including our young people. We've got young people who are engaged and believe and still believe in our country, and still believe in our institutions, as do I. I still believe in our institutions, and I still think we'll iron these things out and we'll move forward again. I really do.
Well, let's talk about one of those great institutions. In my mind, it is the great leveler. It is the great savior. It is the great, not savior in the religious sense, but savior of saving entire classes of people. It is the great equalizer,
Mm-hmm.
and that is public education.
You betcha.
It's where you came from.
Yeah.
Tell me about Bob Hollister is sworn in to your seat, and what do you do about, again, generally, I think campaigns tend to talk more in generalities. There are
Sure.
so many thousands, if not tens of thousands, of pages in federal code regarding education. But what's your overarching ideal and ideas about public education in your district, in this country?
So we were on a trek in my district the last couple of years to get more customized about our education, so that the same size doesn't fit all, that the same diploma isn't the same diploma. You know, I used to have this challenge with folks. I'd say, you know, let's lay everyone's diploma on the stage from all the area school districts. Now tell me something about that kid, and you cannot tell me one thing. We all have the same diploma. It means nothing. And even if you then lay a transcript behind that diploma, boy, oh boy, given depending on what teacher and how that court, you still can't tell me a whole lot about what that particular person can do well and cannot do well. And so,
Interesting, Bob, because I went to school to teach.
okay, all
I
right. So
couldn't, I went to school to be a secondary education teacher because I don't have patience for little children sometimes. I certainly didn't when I was in my 20s.
yeah, gotcha.
I have a
Understood.
lot more patience now, but when I was in my 20s, I didn't. So I'd say, all right, secondary, I'll do middle school and high school. And I found even then, this would have been the early 90s,
Okay. So we're
89,
good.
90, 91,
Yep.
88, 89, 90, 91, that at Moravian College,
Yep.
a very, very underrated college, by the way. I strongly encourage everybody who's listening to me around the world to check out Moravian now University.
Yep.
It is a wonderful education. It's one of the most beautiful campuses you're ever going to see too, by the way. That said, even back then, one of the very first lessons that I was taught in my education classes to be an educator is that not everyone learns the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The crisis in education is not necessarily coming from charter schools or even from online learn at home schools. It seems to me it's coming from that those schools way more often than not are for profit,
Mm-hmm.
literally just to make money, not really produce any results, but just make money. And that we don't always take into account that different kids learn different ways.
Right.
Is that a modernization of the system that you would like to see federal dollars put into?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not necessarily cut them or add them even, but although I would add money, but of course I would. But how we spend it, what we use it on, teaching, we always hear the buzzword about teaching to the test instead of teaching the child. Is that what you're referring to? Or am I putting words?
It's exactly what so a couple things. No Child Left Behind initially, I think, did a lot of good things for public education. It held us accountable for subpopulations that we were ignoring, and we were guilty of that. Having said that, now we've gone too far. That's all it has become, is just the test, and that's not good for kids either. We really do need to we need to have the flexibility in schools to allow our students to follow their passions and follow their strengths, and not have to, if they want to be a welder, not have to pass some high-end biology test. Do they need to understand basic biology? Absolutely. Do they need to pass a biology test that a nurse would have difficulty passing? Probably not. And so we do need to get a little more customized about that career, that pathway out of high school. I called it the diploma gate. Everyone has to go through that little gate called the diploma. And what we really should do is we should be opening up all those options. And here's a great example. And so I had Carnegie Mellon offered a course where they are allowing us to credential two students signed up for it out of my high school this past year. We had to break down time schedules, and we had to provide a place for them to learn. So essentially they were two students in one course, and that's difficult to do in the education world, efficiency and all that stuff. But we had a teacher who was willing to kind of park them on the side in his class and teach some other stuff. These two students are going to graduate, or have graduated by now, with a credential that will allow them to walk into a $60,000 a year career working for Google or Amazon through Carnegie Mellon. No college debt, and they have a career ladder already launched, and it's just a credential. They're set, and they didn't need all the other distractions of a routine schedule, and you have to do so many gen ed credits, and so there's a lot we can do in education to make it more customized and more flexible.
Question from the great and ever powerful Ashley Shea. What does you, Bob, anticipate will happen to 504/IEP education if Republicans effectively, or I would say continue to effectively, because they are being quite effective at it, continue to effectively degrade and destroy public education?
That would be a travesty. So again, going into the whole idea of customized learning, boy, 504s and IEPs are exactly what we're talking about. Those are the kinds of, we've always reserved those for students who are at risk for some reason or another, either an academic or social emotional risk. That would be a travesty. We've got to continue to keep those procedures in place, and they fall very much in line with customized learning.
There's an issue that I get a lot of pushback on, and it seems to be an issue. I swear you and I spoke about this when we got a chance to talk yesterday, but I can't remember, because I mentioned this an awful lot, and I mentioned it a lot to different people. And sadly, it's a bit of history that a lot of folks don't know. That among the laundry list of things that the Reagan era has brought to just fundamentally change this country, bring us a second Gilded Age, a second Great Depression, Republican Great Depression, markets that are they're roller coasters instead of smaller, steadier blips, is the idea of tariffs. The great story is that when George Washington found out he had been elected president and that we're going to have an inauguration ceremony, he wanted an American-made suit, and quite literally could not find one, because up to that point it was illegal for wool to be made into fabric here in the United States. It had to all be sent back to Great Britain and then sent back here. And it's what kept the great mills going in England. And so Washington approached Alexander Hamilton and said, how do we build the industrial society that Great Britain has? And he introduced Washington to the idea of tariffs and import taxes, value-added taxes. It's Hamilton's 13-point principles for building an industrial society. The Japanese have done it, Chinese have done it, the Koreans have done it, and continue to operate under these principles. The United States had an average tariff when Reagan came to power of 25%. It is 2 to 3%. While these other countries continue to have 15, 25, 35, sometimes 40 and 50% tariffs on American goods. So we're the only idiots that dropped all the taxes and tariffs. The federal government was funded entirely through tariffs and import taxes up until the 1913, when the first income tax was passed. When we talk about bringing jobs back to this country, bringing industry back to this country, as a teacher, I'm sure you know all the history that I just gave you. How do we how do we have serious conversations about that without restoring the tariff and import tax system that we had in this country up until Reagan? How do we do that?
Yeah, I don't think you can separate them, Jeff. I mean, yeah, thanks for waiting till the very end here to get to the hard questions. I appreciate that. Got to warm up. I mean, we're talking some pretty complicated economics. But I will say this as sort of in
It's
general.
complicated economics, but when you see someone on the street, at the farmer's market, at the fair, at the grocery store, whatever, and they tell you we got to get jobs back in this country.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's okay, great,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
It
Right.
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? And
Yeah.
that's where this complicated, I'm not telling you anything you don't
No,
know. You're an educator.
no,
You're a smart
no,
man. You know what I'm talking about.
I
But
do,
it's complicated. These are complicated answers to
Sure.
complicated questions.
Sure. And I think we do. I mean, there's many little pieces to this. First of all, the corporations that are hiding their money and profits offshore, that's an issue. World headquarters,
Right.
headquarters for American companies should be in America. Now, that's something I think everybody can get behind. That almost sounds pretty MAGA actually, but there's some sense to that. How can an American company have headquarters in other countries? There's a reason they're doing that. Let's find out why. And it has to do with tariffs. So I do think we need to bring tariffs back, but I also think we need to identify some of those, and this is going to be controversial to do. We've got to identify those 100 or those 1,000 critical industries that really do need to be here. Computer chips as an example. Healthcare equipment, now we had a COVID thing and we had to borrow. How embarrassing was it that we had to borrow masks from other countries, like masks? And so there are some critical infrastructure, critical manufacturing processes that should be here. And however that has to happen, we need to make that happen. If that means tariffs, if that means government contracting, whatever that takes to get it done, there are just some things that should be done here.
Most of the missile systems and drone systems used by the United States military contain computer chips. Big shocker, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And those chips are made in China.
Yes, they are. Yep.
Meaning that even though the one branch of government that is allowed to have warehouses full of backup stock is the military,
Yeah.
but once that stock is run through, we're not going to be getting those back. Because if and or when, I tend to lean to when, unfortunately, conflict comes in the Pacific, the Chinese are not exactly going to be selling us computer chips to continue to make weaponry.
Right.
So
And
it is a vitally important industry to have here,
Sure.
or at a minimum, at least to have perhaps at both places. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, I mean, I don't want to sound that we've got to go to war economically, because that doesn't benefit us either. We are all part of we're all part of the world community at this point, and we do need to get along. We even need to get along with China, even though China has got some plans for us that we really haven't gotten to talk about. Their economic belt initiative is a serious threat to this country. And you go into a bar or supermarket, very few people are going to know about the economic belt initiative. It's something that, like, that's the real stuff we should be talking about, not CRT. But that's for the next time, Jeff.
And as an educator, you can briefly tell us, other than some very advanced degrees at a precious few law schools in this country, where is CRT taught?
Yeah, and that's it. High school,
Nowhere.
our colleges,
Nowhere.
high-end colleges. Yeah, it's not a high school. It's not even a curriculum. It's a thought process for doing a curriculum at an advanced level class in university. It's not taught in schools. It drives me crazy. There are literally thousands and thousands of interactions every day in a school system, and maybe 0.0001 of those is a mistake where someone could possibly interpret that as a threat of CRT. It's absurd. It's a conversation that we really shouldn't waste any more time on.
If you assume that CRT is a threat in the first place, which it isn't, because you can't threaten somebody by teaching something you're not teaching. On and on.
We could chase that in circles all day, Jeff. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I answered your question on the economic piece, but it is. I mean, we really do need to start playing in the world again. And I think our country has to continue to be the most innovative country in the world. And that's something that we should be proud of. We have more patents than any other country in the world. We have more Nobel Prizes than any other country in the world, and we still do. We're losing ground, but we are still the most innovative country on the planet, and we can still capitalize on that.
Something that a lot of other nations do that we used to do, I think we tend to forget that. I think we all too easily forget that the social democratic network fabric that is the basis of Western Europe, especially the Scandinavian countries, which are by and large the most economically healthy. They have the happiest populations, the longest lifespans, highest graduation rates, lowest maternal mortality rates, lowest infant mortality rates, on and on and on and on, is tax structure.
Mm-hmm.
When Mr. Reagan came to power, the top marginal tax rate was still 74%. If you made anything over $4 million, you paid 74% for every dollar. That rate has been as high as 91% in the past, actually 94% in the past. When Mr. Reagan came to office, and again, that skips over the Nixon era, which is really when this war on the middle class began. The capital gains tax rate when Mr. Reagan came to power was still 35%. Some corporate tax rates were 50%. There had been several rounds of windfall profits taxes from presidents of both administrations after the war, after World War II. Roosevelt famously said that no one will become rich off of this war. How do you look at the general idea of taxes and tax structure and the tax system being a place where fairness can begin to be restored to the system?
Yeah, I think that is, I mean, I think again, what the President Joe Biden's doing by enhancing the strength of the IRS to actually go after taxes that are on the table already. I mean, we haven't done a good job collecting taxes, closing loopholes for some of these multi-billionaires who are really paying very little taxes at all. And so there's money on the table already that we just need to legally and appropriately pull back. I mean, that's the money that's supposed to be there already. Beyond that, you know, I think taxes are a part of life. As long as a politician, as a congressman, as long as I can show people how I'm spending their money and show them what they're getting, most people are going to go, okay, yeah, I can get on board with that, as long as we show them. But let's not hide it. You know, let's be more transparent about it. And let's go get after that money that's already on the table.
Taxes really are the fee that we pay to live in a civilized society.
It is. And I've seen that.
And we have a small group. We have to remember, folks, for all of you out there again, heading into the pandemic, there were roughly 660 billionaires in the United States. All of which, because I think the first billionaire wasn't created till around the early 70s. There are about 660 heading into the pandemic. There are now over 750.
Yeah.
In an era where we spent 2.5 years almost locked up in our homes to protect for-profit hospitals, we created another 100 billionaires. And these folks don't want to pay taxes. Mm-hmm. They don't think they have to pay to be a part of this society. And it would seem to me, Bob, maybe this is too heady. Maybe you want to stay away from this one. If I see Noah's head explode or he breaks into a sweat, I'll know you want to stay out of this.
We're 5 minutes away from signing off, so I can dance.
I have told folks, and I really hate to use the phrase, it's become all too often used. We must understand, as a 99% of the economic population, even the 99.9%, this group of billionaires has decided for the most part, democracy is no longer convenient for them
Mhm.
to continue to hoard money unchecked.
Mhm.
Am I wrong?
No, I don't believe you are. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Oh, there goes Noah. He sat back and go, crap.
Yeah, yeah.
That
No,
was
it's
a
like,
bad, that
okay,
was a
get them
bad
off,
question.
cut them
Oh,
off, cut them off, get
It
them
was an
off the
easy
air.
answer.
So Jeff, we're gonna wrap it up.
Before you
But,
guys go, let me do what I always do at the end of any time that we have with our guests. Let me warn you both, and let me tell you both the bad news. I got good news and bad news. The bad news, you are part of the family now. So I hope, very deeply hope, very sincerely hope, that this is not the last time that we see you,
agreed.
together or individually. Please know, not just through this election and the rest of the campaign, although you are welcome to come back. If you have something important that our audience really needs to know about, please tell me and come back and see us again. Especially, sir, when you win this election.
You,
And I can say that I have a regular sitting congressman on this program. When you become big, powerful, and famous, don't forget about us little
yeah.
guys here.
All right, Jeff. All right, you got it. That's a
The
deal.
floor is yours. You wrap up your part of the program. If there's anything that we didn't get to, always, of course, the contact information where people can find you online and in person, how they donate and all that stuff. If there's an answer we didn't get to fully flush out, an issue we didn't get to fully flush out, any of it, the floor is yours. Take as much time as you need.
I think first of all, thanks, Jeff. You really have a nice program. I really enjoyed engaging with you, and it's nice to be able to have these talks. I mean, we didn't agree on every single point, but that's okay. That's part of what makes us stronger. You know, steel sharpens steel. So let's keep doing that. Yeah, I think if you want to get to know me a little bit better, certainly the website is probably the best way to do it, and that's hollisterforcongress.com. Talks about my personal history, but also talks about our positions. Again, hollisterforcongress.com. Our donation, all Act Blue's all there too. And so, yeah, and follow us on Facebook. Facebook is where we're really pushing out most of our digital messages. And so we'd appreciate that as well. But yeah, bottom line is, I think I represent a large group, or I look like a large group of this country, either a little bit left or a little bit right of center. And that's really where we're going to appeal. But I will also tell you this, when I'm your congressman, I'm going to represent everything. You know, everybody gets to listen to me, and I get to listen to everybody. And that's really what we need to do here. We got to start listening to one another actively and try and find some common ground again.
Noah, any last thoughts?
Thanks for having us on. Bob stole the show, and that's what he's there for. So I don't have much more to add.
He's so good, isn't he, Jeff? He's really good.
Hey, listen, that's why I asked you the questions that I did. I again, we just think that people wake up in the morning and they go run for office, and it's easy. And you go to rubber chicken dinners, and you break bread at coffee shops. And if you're Jersey, you don't do it without hitting a diner tour.
Right.
But it isn't. There's a hell of a lot that goes into it, and there's a hell of a lot of good people that work and donate time because they believe in the people that they're working for, and they believe in the issues that those people believe in. And it is an unsung part of the system, I think, are the precinct committee people, your county chairs, your county committees. I happen to be on the state committee, and I'm very blessed to be so. That we make the system run. And I think, to what Bob said, it's not always about agreeing on everything either. But we make the system run. You got to be involved in the system. My dad told me a long time ago, it's not hard to be engaged. Just watch the news.
Yeah.
If you get the straight news, it's why we're missing the straight news.
Yeah.
It's why not having the straight news is so damaging. If you just watch Walter Cronkite and he tells you what happened at a certain place at a certain time, you form your own opinion about it, and boom, there you go, you're informed. It's not hard. It's a not hard process to be informed and to be part. It's not hard to be part of the process. So, gentlemen, I'm extremely grateful for you being here, and I meant what I said. I mean it as sincerely as I can possibly put it out there. You are always welcome here. I like to think of everyone who's ever visited us as part of the family. You know how to get in here. You know how to get on the Zoom. You have my numbers. You got the emails, all that stuff. Now, if you have something that you want to talk to our audience about, then please, by God, come back and do it. And if you want to pop in and visit us again before Election Day, the Sunday before Election Day, I think is going to be a free-for-all program here. Every candidate from anywhere in the country that we've ever talked to, pop in for 2 minutes, whatever that might be. But, you know, you're welcome. The bottom line is you're welcome here. And like I said, when you're a big famous congressman, Mr. Hollister,
Yes, sir.
don't forget about the little guys.
I know where you live. Hey, I have a soft spot for the Lehigh Valley. I served in Quakertown for a while, and my doctoral work's from Lehigh University. So I've spent some time in your neck of the woods up there. So I will keep you in mind, Jeff. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your service. Thanks for doing everything you're doing to be a leader out in the community as well. All right, we're going to sign off.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great evening.
thanks,
Thank you,
Jeff.
thank you, thank you.
You as well.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That is Bob Hollister and Noah Fatzinger. Noah is Bob's deputy campaign manager, and Bob, of course, is the big cheese. He's the candidate for the United States House of Representative from the 11th congressional district, which is centered in Lancaster. Of course, congressional districts are bigger than that, but it is centered in Lancaster, if that helps you. If you're listening from around the country, and you have any idea what Pennsylvania might look like, Bob, Lancaster is not too far north of the Maryland border, about halfway across the state, I'd say. Maybe not all the way, but about halfway across the east-west, Maryland border, if you're not familiar with Pennsylvania. That was a quick 2 hours, despite my struggling to keep my breath. I can't seem to breathe right. To keep my breath, it makes me, you know what? I went to broadcasting school. Even though I had done TV and radio since I was in high school. I tried to get TV and radio jobs after I graduated high school, and no one would hire me because they would say, well, you don't have a formal education. So probably about 10 years after I graduated high school, I went to broadcasting school. Flew through broadcasting school. It was not a problem for me. And then, so, all right, great. Now I have this degree. I can go finally out and get a radio and TV job. And all the radio stations told me, you don't have any experience. And it was, well, of course I have experience. Here's my experience. Yeah, but that was 10, 12 years ago. So it's that radio and TV, sadly, especially in a talk format, a talk environment, is very much of a who you know and not what you know business. And it's why I'm always so very, very grateful that anyone who is willing to come and visit us, any page that is willing to share us and allow us there, any individual that allows us to be on their space, in their social media, every single one of you that listen and watch both live and on the recording, although I much prefer the live, because that's when I get to talk to you. That's why it means the world to me, because it is about a what you know. Sadly, it's more about who you know than what you know. The reason I'm not doing the show that Tom Hartman's doing or that Sean Hannity is doing, because it's not the who you know. I don't have all those who people. But the what I know is extremely solid, which is a very long-winded way of saying I keep sniffling and swallowing to you inside the microphone, which is pretty gross. And it's not the best thing to listen to, but I just can't help it tonight. I can't keep my breath, and I can't see correctly out of this eye. And I'm sniffling because I can't breathe out of my nose. My throat is bothering me for some reason. I just don't understand it. But you guys, as always, you've hung in there. You've been patient, and our guests were patient. And, so let me change. Let me do a little bit of production here live on the spot. Let me put the phone number up, and I will try to carry you through the remainder of the program. I'll try to go at least 8 o'clock, but it'll depend on the activities here. It'll depend on, did I type the right number into my home? Yes, I did. I did, right? Did I type the right number into my own program? I think I did. Yes. So consider the phone line open, folks. 227 267 227 9189 267 227 9189 267 227 9189 267 227 9189. There's so wherever you are on Facebook, I forgot the top of the hour reset. That's not very good. Wherever you are on Facebook, that other side of information is our home group Facebook page. If you are not familiar with our home Facebook page, then let me please, I invite you to come over and check us out. Become a member. It doesn't take anything to become a member. I mean, everybody basically gets in. I don't think I've ever rejected anybody, to be honest. But check out the articles and the information that we post there. We usually, if not always, post information for the folks that have been guests on the program. If an author is writing a new book, if Kevin Frederick is taking a new mission trip to South America, candidate news, folks who have been guests on our program, you can catch up with them and find out what they're up to. We post news articles from the CBC, the BBC, the Guardian, much more rare, the New York Times, Washington Post, almost never, but occasionally, the Morning Call here in the Lehigh Valley, and a lot of Lehigh Valley Live for the local stuff. But you can see the kind of news that we're following and what stories are important and what seem to be getting a lot of press and need to be followed. So there's that. So I hope that you will check us out and see what you think. It's also the best way to stay on top of what it is that we're doing and coming up on the show. Hang on one. I think we got it. Area code 717. You are on the air. Your first name and where you're calling from, please.
Hello, it's Gary Brown calling. How are you doing today?
Hey, Mr. Brown. How are you, sir?
Good. I tell you, I did not know that Hollister was a Republican.
Well, I don't think he would call it that.
Well,
He did.
Well, yeah, I'm
He
sure
did.
he would not.
I don't think he would call it that, to be fair.
Well,
No, I
yeah,
did.
I'm sorry, and I want to be fair because I definitely will vote for him. But it's great to have him on.
Well, I'm with you. I did not know that either, but I think that we are at risk at times where I would agree with him of just kind of discounting him and or a percentage of our fellow Americans and Pennsylvanians. If we know that they either currently belong or used to belong to what used to be the party opposite us, I don't know that that's a disqualification. It just might mean that he and I disagree on some more things than we would normally. And I would not say, well, I should actually, because I would say it because I'm going to say it. I don't think, again, I think it's a low bar. Like we put a very low bar on Mrs. Cheney simply because she stood up for democracy. Right. You would think that would be the minimum. That would be the bare minimum that an elected official could do. But the truth of the matter is that's not the bare minimum anymore. And therefore we celebrate it. So
Right.
I don't think it certainly doesn't disqualify him in any way. So he's a bit more, but here's the thing though, Gary, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. As the conversation with him proceeds, he's agreeing with this and that and that and that and that. And if he doesn't even agree with it seems to be the way the Democratic Party and the Republican Party used to be. We all agree we want to get to this particular end point, but we might disagree on how to get there. I can take that.
Yeah.
I mean, that can work
Yeah.
for me. I can take that. What do you think?
Well, you made a comment earlier in education. Well, I've met several of kids who've gone to school from this area, gone off to Temple University.
Tell me what area
and
you're referring to. For the folks at home who don't know where you're calling
from the
from.
41st District, Manheim Township area, kids from Hinsville, graduate high school and go to Temple University and get degrees in early childhood education or education, and they end up in the systems working in Philadelphia, and they become extremely culture shock and they realize how privileged they've lived here. They have lived here in the Hinsville and especially Manheim Township area. And so some of those young kids, well, now adults, they've crossed over and become Democrats. That's great.
Is it privileged or sheltered?
They feel both.
Well, because
you
you said in that answer, and look, I'm not here to tell you what words to use. I'm asking you a question. That you said that they're the privilege that they grew up with, and then they get to Philadelphia and they're like, wow, holy cow, that's a whole different world. So that's why I ask you then, is in that case, is it privileged or is it simply sheltered? I grew up in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. When I moved to the northeast corner of New Jersey and I was going into Manhattan every day, I can tell you I had culture shock, and I can tell you I sure as hell weren't privileged. As I continue to get poorer and poorer economically, I realized we were a pretty poor family. My parents never made us feel that way, and we never knew it. We never knew it because they didn't talk to us about it, because we were the kids and they were the parents, and that's how it was. So are these kids privileged or are they sheltered?
I think if your parents allow you to go off to college to actually go into education, they're trying to expose you to the world, and some are. I have my own. I grew up in Coral Gables, Florida in 1972. My dad built our house on the other side of the tracks. Black family. We got picked on going because of the school system. We had to the segregation. We had to go over into what's called Blacktown to get a bus to go to school, or to go in a school in Black and cross. So I had my own little culture shock from age about 8 on. So I get that. But on another quick topic here, concern here is when he talks about the local people not being informed about politics. It's really, to me, I found to be really interesting, where you have a certain demographics of people who just do not care at all. They don't care at all. And it's very sad because I found that same demographics to be socially and economically dependent upon, I'm going to say it, the system. Okay. Like Section 8 housing and a few other things. So to me, it was like campaigning out and meeting people like that. It was like, what? So I feel that Lancaster, GOP, and others have done a really good job.
Do you mean in the similar, if not exact, really, way that Republicans in Kentucky hate the federal government, but no state gets more federal money than Kentucky?
Exactly like that.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I find the same thing. I find it, if it wasn't so true, I would laugh at it. Openly, probably mockingly laugh at it. if it wasn't so
Yeah.
sad,
Yeah.
but I still find I've gotten very little pushback. I think I have it right. I get it right occasionally. That's usually when it's snowing, but I get it right occasionally. That hypocrisy wins. It's a winning issue. It's a winning formula, if you will. That's probably not the right word.
The dumbing down on America.
That when folks can be pointed out to the desperate hypocrisy, specifically Republicans, the desperate hypocrisy within their own voting patterns, within the people that they believe are representing them, that hypocrisy wins. It's exceptionally simple to comprehend, and because what you're highlighting really is hypocrisy. We hate the government, but where's our money? Keep your damn government hands off my Social Security.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does any of that
And,
make sense to you?
yeah,
Are you
it
finding that in
makes
the
a lot of
area?
Makes a lot of sense to me. And yeah, well, kind of, well, like I said, it's sort of like the dumbing down of America. Like I was talking to a group of young African American men in Columbia, and I'm asking about politics. And as soon as I went there, they're like, we don't want to talk about that. And it's very, I don't know, for me it's very sad. But to your point, I just feel it's just part of the dumbing down of America. When you have a demographics of people who become so dependent upon the federal government providing them with housing, a few other things. It just seems like to me it was just really, really weird. These people should be more informed. Should want to be. Make sense?
Well, it does to me. I mean, if your life, well, I can make the argument that everybody's life on a daily basis, but if your life on a daily basis is being directly affected by the actions or inactions of your government, federal, state, county, or local, then being tuned out from that government is not just it's not just a form of being uneducated or ill-informed. It's just flat stupid, if I can speak a little more plainly.
Right.
If you are on housing assistance, SNAP, if you have a business, why do you think the billionaires pay the lawyers and lobbying firms that they pay to shape and form the actions and policies of government? Because they understand how it works. And if they don't like how it works, they're willing to pay lots of money to change it. The very least you can do, not just Gary, but anybody at the most local level, is know what the hell your government is up to. And if you don't, because how do you complain about it? I always come back to the same thing. Keep your damn government hands off of my Social Security. Think about the sheer and massive depth of ignorance of that statement, because it's exactly what it is ignorant.
Like you mentioned earlier about making, was it $3.35, $3.50 per hour?
My first minimum wage job was in the 80s, 1985. I was 15 years old. I was a junior in high school, and I was making $3.35 an hour. And a minimum wage now in Pennsylvania is still only $7.25. So it has gone up. It's gone up a whopping $2.90 in nearly 38 years.
Yeah, I'll add that I was a kid growing up, sitting next to my father, watching Watergate, watching the news. I was a kid who, my siblings, we all worked. My parents were island people. We believe in that. We worked off season from football, and we paid half for everything. If we wanted a car, we paid for it ourselves.
Yeah.
I was that, that kid who, we always worked at $3.50 per hour.
Mhm.
My dad would get upset about having to go and sign a permit for me to work at school.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a different breed because, like what we see now with the Trumpicans and with Trump, the in comparison to what I saw with Watergate, is one thing. And I want to mention one other thing. In 87, I was worked for MCI Communications. I sold a huge account, and so I took a year sabbatical off, and I went to Sweden and lived in Horsesvall, Sweden, and put off the for 1 year with friends there. And I got to view America on a completely different light. It's so much gratitude for the United States, in part because my friends always send me out to buy the liquor because the taxes were so incredibly high for them, for the locals, even though I didn't drink. But taxes in Sweden, let's say if there's a flood in the road, the taxes would go from 50% to 72% for a certain period of time.
See, but here's
So,
here's something, Gary, that you mentioned that I think is interesting on a lot of different levels, and it's something that I've talked about here before. And you listen a lot, and please know how grateful I am to you for that. I continue to beg you and everyone else, share this program, share the announcements. Yell, scream, disagree with me all you want, but I appreciate that you're here. The total overall tax burden on Americans is roughly 40%.
Right.
It depending on different eras and different administrations, it could dip as low as 36. It could be as high as 42. But generally speaking, and that's federal, state, county, local, it's in the 40% range. It's the same thing in Europe.
It is.
And look at what they're getting compared to this.
Right, because we
Look
have 40%
at what
plus,
they're
5%
getting
here. It adds up to about 50-some percent. The taxes on the gas, taxes on.
I'm talking about all of that. I'm talking about all of it. Gas, income, capital gains, your fishing license fee. I'm talking about all of it. You're roughly in the 40% of your total gross income. So are the Scandinavian countries. And look at what they're getting. I'm not even postulating to you. I'm flat out saying it. I mean, you don't have to agree, but I'm saying that 40, what we're not getting for that 40% is because it's being stolen in profit. Look what they're getting in Western Europe, and to a much greater extent, the Netherlands and the Scandinavian countries.
Right.
Healthcare, education, the roads are immaculate. And you know that because you were there. And when the way that Europe used to look back upon this country as somewhere that even with everything that they grew up with, and even with everything that they were getting for their tax money that we did not get here, they still wanted to come here. Now they are running government exercises, making it harder to emigrate, raising the standards to become a citizen because they fear an exodus from this country when we finally descend into full fascism.
Right.
And we continue to pay 40% so that we can be under the thumb of a few hundred billionaires and the party they own. The difference,
my friends in Sweden. Yeah, my friends in Sweden. I got friends in Horn, Netherlands. They're in Tilsburg, Netherlands. I got friends in the Netherlands, and I got friends in Sweden. They all tell me, Gary, they're freaked out for my family, black family. They're like, please pick up and move here. You are a young country, and within the next 20 years from now, you will not. The Constitution will mean for nothing.
See,
they really are afraid that. Yeah,
I have talked, as you probably know. I'm assuming you do because you're a smart dude. That we talk about this a lot in the program. The Canadian government continues to run simulations. It is an ongoing governmental, at this point, I guess you'd call it a policy, a continuing what if scenario that when the Constitution is suspended and democracy ends in the United States, what is Canada going to do? What are they going to do militarily? What are they going to do at the border? How are they going to handle the flood of refugees? Those would be Americans, by the way. How are they going to handle it? When George W. Bush was selected by the Supreme Court to take the presidency, Sweden, Finland, Denmark all did the same thing. They re-regulated and stiffened the regulations on how folks could emigrate. The work requirements, you needed to know the language, you needed a sponsor, you needed all this stuff. And I realized that part of that actually becomes right-wing talking point for immigration here in the United States, except that it's the corporations here that don't want control at the borders. They don't want those standards raised because those folks are willing to come here and work for peanuts.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes literally picking peanuts because
Yes.
we won't do such a thing. But what I mean, the way that we are looked at around the world now is as a kind of as the campfire.
Yeah.
The kindling's burning, just the logs didn't catch yet.
Right.
Almost, and it has the potential to become a bonfire.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree.
Yeah, my friends in Sweden now, because of their getting the country feeling more secure with NATO and becoming a part of NATO. That to me makes me feel good because I did not feel safe there because you can turn the corner and go up a street and there's clearly, honestly, in my heart can feel that there were Nazis living in certain areas, especially in Finland. That to me, that scared me. I did not have the Constitution that I feel is my somewhat security blanket, except for police issues here in the States. But it's good to talk to you.
Well, thank you for taking the time and thanks for checking out our program and being a part of it, especially over the long haul, because I saw that you got in pretty early, so you've been here for quite a while. Very kind of you to do. Please let folks, for all of you out there, let Gary's phone call be a lesson to you. He shakes his finger. Let it be a lesson to you that you can call the program and live to tell about it. There's no reason on earth that this program does not have the same number of callers as a Hartman or Stephanie Miller or any of the rest of them. The phone line's open, guys. You're here. I want to talk to you. I desperately want to talk to you. So it makes the program go, man.
One last thing I want to say about the 41st district. Did you see that the GOP moved their office from Lancaster into the 41st district? That was my point I was making about a coup on the Hinsville area Democrats.
Okay,
moved their footprint into here.
Well, tell me more because you lost me. Okay, so they had the Lancaster County Republican Party, are we talking?
Yes.
So they moved from Lancaster City proper to Hempfield Township?
Yes, into...
And why do you...
I believe it is East Hemphill, right here in the 41st. Really interesting.
So why? So I'll bite. Why do you think that they did that? Because they can't win Lancaster and they want to be more friendly territory? What do you think?
Well, because they're probably 51% with the 41st district, and Hemphill is their probably they're trying to make their stronghold Mountville, Hemphill, East Hemphill, and West Hemphill, and they want to hold on to it. I think they want to hold on to this area.
Do you think though that simply where you put a party office has a lot to do with that? Or I don't know that the electorate as a whole, especially not the independents and non-affiliated, really care where the office is. Do you? Which is not to disagree with you. I'm asking your opinion.
They're putting their brand right in the middle of a district that they feel they can lose.
Fair enough.
So I feel, yeah, it's a great strategy, good move.
Fair enough.
You know, you can put your local rep out of the office. I believe. I think you can.
She can put campaign people there, but not paid staff. That's a crossover.
Right, not paid staff. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
All
The same way that you're
still-
not, the same way that a local state rep, state senator, U.S. House,
Mhm.
even Senator Casey for that matter, cannot campaign out of your local
That's right,
office.
You're
That's why
correct.
they open campaign offices compared to constituent offices. One thing I did not
Right.
get to mention with Bob before you go, Gary. We continue to overlook, I think, and I actually really did mention to me to ask him this, and I even forgot to write it down. My brain is so not functioning tonight. That we continue to undervalue and underestimate the power, if you will, of constituent services. Generally speaking, Republicans don't do constituent services. Some of them do them quite well. The majority do little or none. And if they do them to the people that wrote checks or voted for them first. Do you think that we continue to undervalue and or underreport, underappreciate constituent services within the campaign? Like Mr. Hollister mentioned that, that he has people coming to him asking him for help. He's not in office.
Right. Yes, we do. My example here was, I was asked to run in the 41st, and then the Hemphill Democratic committee did not endorse me. I came at them hard, like we're seeing some Democrats around the state doing now. Tell them, hey, listen, I like to win. Don't tell me that you don't think I can win. That's not how I start out. You begin with the end in mind. Win. So they took offense to me telling them that, and now look what's happened over the past few months.
Well, back.
All Yabla has hit the fan.
Yeah. Well said. Well, come back another night and tell us about the campaign properly, long form. As I have told everyone who listens to this program, I've put it on the Facebook page more times than I can count, more times than I should have had to. That's for damn sure. Twitter, LinkedIn, all of it. This program is open for state and federal level candidates anywhere in the United States, right up to Election Day. You have a place here. If you are the only one that happens to be here that week, good for you. If you're one of 10, oh well. And we're expecting candidates later on in the campaign from, I have invitations out to candidates in Wisconsin, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Oregon, and Texas and Oregon. And I will have candidates in from Oregon later in the summer or cycle. We have a very strong listener base in Oregon. I don't know how these things grow organically, but that just is how it is. And I'm very damn happy about it. I don't care where you're listening. I truly don't. If you're on the moon in the ISS listening, great. I'm just happy you're listening. But again, telling the entire audience, the entire world, everyone that's listening, if you are a state or federal level candidate running in this cycle, you are up for election as a newcomer, incumbent, challenger, and from either party. You are welcome here right up to Election Day. And I think our Sunday program the day before, well, I guess it is kind of the day before, the Sunday before Election Day, I'm hoping will just be a free-for-all. We will get on the air and we will see who comes in and decides to visit and drop us a last note and reminder and all that good stuff. So come back and talk to us about the campaign properly at some point, my friend.
Thank you.
Have a
appreciate
great
you
rest
guys.
of your night. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You stay safe.
You too. Stay strong. Peace. Thank you.
267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Randall, welcome, my friend.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
All right. We're getting through. It's not been it's been a weird night.
Yeah, it's been a weird night on my side too.
I keep-
probably on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I got a bit of a runny nose. I don't know how I haven't sneezed yet. I have whatever this eye thing is. I can't breathe right. I don't know. It has not been a healthy summer, but it's been a good summer, but it's not been a healthy one. I can tell you that. But what do you got for me, my friend? Talk to me.
Well, first off, I've been on a nicotine pad now for I'm starting my 5th week that I haven't smoked, and I've been a heavy smoker since age 14, and here I am 70. So, that's good. I had to really last night at bad time. I had to really grab my rescue inhaler a number of times. My blood oxygen level got lowest I've ever seen, down to 90 and 89. But things are cleared up today, so that's good. Yeah, it's been a weird summer.
Well, what's on your mind as far as the program this evening?
The hypocrisy, talking earlier about the hypocrisy
Mm-hmm.
of the common person. Don't touch my Social Security.
Right. Keep your damn government hands off my Social Security.
The only party, and the real radical right wing Republicans in U.S. Congress, they already said, and some of the U.S. senators said,
Mm-hmm.
if we gain control, we're going to push to privatize Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. We're going to take that.
We've gone past that now. So the junior senator from Florida, Rick Scott, who is guilty of the largest Medicare hospital fraud in American history.
Yep.
And yet somehow was allowed to keep most of the money. I don't know how that works. So he bought himself a governorship in Florida twice, and then bought himself a Senate seat with taxpayer money, for all intent and purpose. Released what would be the Republican Senate manifesto should they regain control of the Senate. And in reference to what you're discussing, he would like to see Social Security and Medicare ended what he's referring to sunsetted in 5 years. That is exactly what it sounds like. He wants to end them in 5 years. Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, who has now become one of the largest conspiracy theory senators in the Senate, anywhere in the country, really. He would like to see Social Security and Medicare be voted on kind of like the defense budget, where it has to be renewed every single year.
Yeah, he wants to put a sunshine law on. Exactly.
So those are the two big Republican plans for Social Security and Medicare. Those two plans make privatization almost look logical.
Well,
and don't be so surprised if that's not part of the plan.
Those plans to support Social Security and Medicare into being private. leaving no choice but having to go private.
Well,
Either plan is a game plan to destroy Social Security and Medicare in this country. Either one's a game plan to destroy.
well, let's also remind everyone 50% of the Medicare budget is already privatized because of Medicare, quote unquote, advantage plans.
Yeah, Plan C. I was
Right. Or what we now, what the insurance companies are now labeling as Medicare Part C, so that you don't know that it's private insurance. Half the Medicare budget, your tax dollars, for all the folks that are out there whinging and they're apoplectic and having body cramps about $10,000 in student debt relief. My tax dollars are paying for this relief. Your tax dollars are paying the Medicare budget. And now 50% of that is going to private insurance companies. You're paying for that. You don't want to pay single payer? You don't want an American national healthcare service like they have in the UK? Half the Medicare budget is now privatized. Has the cost of Medicare gone down? It has not. These are private insurance companies taking your tax dollars, denying service, and keeping the rest of the money for themselves. Oh my God, it sounds like socialism. It's actually pure capitalism, but it's your tax dollars. Every time you folks get apoplectic about any of the things that I don't want my tax dollars going to, take a look at Medicare and take a look at how half of that budget now is private and for profit. Medicare was never supposed to be that. Go ahead, Randall. Randall?
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
And Medicare Advantage, which they, this is Plan C.
Right.
People don't realize is since it is for profit, you have to make multi-millions of dollars of profit.
Mm-hmm.
So in year round, putting commercial, spending $250 million, I think I read, of all the health insurance companies, it need to go on Medicare Advantage. We're free dentures. We're going to be free, Now, they are depleting the reserve that has been built up over the decades. And now the baby boomers like myself are depleting it faster than it can be replaced by younger worker generation. But they're depleting it quicker than if you just use.
And that's the plan, though. But that's the plan. We want to empty it of money so that we can then make the argument that it either needs to be shut down or fully privatized. Senator Sanders has it right. Senator Warren has it right. Senator Brown has it right. Sheldon Whitehouse, Senator Merkley, Presley, AOC, even Speaker Pelosi has spoken on this. Lift the tax on the tax cap on Social Security.
Right.
If billionaires had to pay Social Security tax on all of their income, the same way you and I do. Well, actually, right now I have $0 in income, so I'm not paying anything. But you pay Social Security tax up to, I think it's up to about $143,000 now.
And
after that, you don't pay it. If those billionaires had to pay for every dime that they make in Social Security tax, Social Security, and Medicare money comes out of Social Security, would be solvent for a minimum of the next 80 years. Again, rich people don't want to pay taxes. That's their money. And then they think your money is their money. That's not how it works, and we don't have to accept it. Americans don't have to accept it. Not every single dime that you work for is the property of a billionaire. It's yours. You decide what to do with it. And if you don't give it to them, what Citizens United has brought us is the open, out in the light of day purchase of legislators. And then they take it from you that way. One party wholly owned and the other all too unwilling to do anything about it. Go ahead, sir.
You cover all my points I was going to make, Jeff.
Well, even a blind
that is-
squirrel.
I think, you know, I know that unless we get some constitutional amendment passed, you know, one, maybe term limit for the House and the Senate. Number two, absolutely a constitutional amendment overthrowing Citizens United. And three, a constitutional amendment that a corporation does not have the same rights under the U.S. Constitution as flesh and blood American citizens. Those are three amendments we need to reverse what has been going on for 40 years now, since Reagan went into office.
Let me encourage everybody to go to a website that I talk about a lot here. And there are petitions there. I have signed it. It's move2amend.org. Move to amend. AM. I'm gonna make it hard if I can't spell. Move to amend. AMEND.org. That is where you can sign the petition for a constitutional amendment overturning Citizens United and declaring that money is not speech and corporations are not people. I have told you all before, I will believe that corporations are people when I see one thrown in jail, and Republicans love the death penalty. So when I see one given the death penalty, the corporate death penalty, then I'll know that corporations are people. But when corporations continue to rape, pillage, steal, kill, and get away with it, they're not people. When I see a corporation deliberately put out of business for illegal activity, then I'll believe that they're people, i.e. a corporate death penalty. When I see that, I'll believe that they're people. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not holding my breath. But move2amend.org. I would strongly recommend all of you, please check out move2amend.org. Sign the petition there. Follow them, read about what they're working on, which is exactly this, a constitutional amendment to end Citizens United, overturn it, and declare, codify inside the Constitution to declare that corporations are not people and money is not speech. What else you got, Randall, before I say good night?
You know, I gave up. I gave up in the mid-90s. My home career as farm school at different nonprofits, as fire safety officer, at higher education facilities. I thought when the owner of the chicken processing plant in North Carolina, where 27 people died because he had chained and padlocked every fire exit in the facility to prevent employee theft. I thought for sure that guy was going to go and be tried for murder because he did the deliberate action that caused 27 employees to die. But that didn't happen, you know? And yeah,
I got you.
very frustrating for decades and decades to watch things like that happen, to watch.
Well, there's also the
Big, not as big as a conservative Supreme Court as we have now, but a slight majority, and then we get first the Supreme Court that a corporation is a human being, and then we get Citizens United, and yeah, it's very frustrating, very very. All right.
Listen, sir, we're not going to be here next week for Labor Day. Or at least that's the plan. I'd be shocked if we were here, but we usually don't do shows on those kind of holidays. So you, sir, stay out of trouble and stay healthy. And
Today for my U.S. Congresswoman.
you went to a fundraiser?
Yeah, for Mary Gay Scanlon,
Nice.
and Adam Tripler was there. I can't remember if he's from New York or no.
He's from California. Congressman Schiff.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're going out. We're going out for state rep here, Leanne, next Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, door to door. And I'm being positive. I'm telling people, people are going, well, they're going to take control. And I go, don't, that's defeatist attitude. That is absolutely defeatist attitude. You got to go with the attitude, we're going to stay put, we're going to win. Because if you take the defeatist attitude, people are just going to say, well, then there's no point in me voting. We're going to lose no matter what. Now, you've got to push a positive message when you go door to door.
Besides, everything is trending. All the polls, everything's trending toward Democrats doing well, if not holding both chambers at this point. But you certainly don't do that by staying home. Nothing changes until we change it.
Exactly.
So, and did you tell the Congresswoman to come on this show? If you didn't, I swear to God, I'm coming down there and I'm going to find you.
I didn't. You did. Oh
my gosh. Oh,
there was actually too many people there that are higher up than I, being a committee person. Yeah.
There's nobody higher than a committee person, because none of these people get elected without you. So let's remember that part of it. But all right, I'm going to go, my friend. You stay safe and stay out of trouble, would you please?
You do the same, sir.
And stay healthy. And good on you for giving up smoking. Good on you.
Yeah.
All right, stay out of trouble. We love you, okay? Stay healthy. Not stumping for me with the Congresswoman. Oh, man. Can you believe that? Randall, not stumping for me with the Congresswoman. Unbelievable. Boy, am I going to bust his chops about that. It's going to be a long 2 weeks for him, man. It's going to be. I am going to bust his chops for 2 weeks. Oh, my goodness. 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. 227-227-9189. I was planning to go till 8. I will give you guys a couple of minutes to see if anybody else rings in. Let me just get to the let me just get into the page really quick, see if there's any big stories that I really wanted to point to you. Something I think you should be watching from a social unrest. I almost said a social security standpoint, but it is kind of what I meant, but not exactly. From a social unrest, from a social community cohesion, sign of things to come, a sign of something that our own military has told us is going to be an issue, and something that they plan for, and that's water access and or security and or insecurity. I posted an article from ProPublica. Fair credit to them. Always give credit where I get the articles from because I don't write them. I'm a writer, but I don't write them. I'm not a writer in that way. You know what I mean? I'm a writer in that way. Not in the article kind of way, right? Political ads and things, but the Western United States is famously in the grips of its worst mega drought in a millennia. The Colorado River, which supplies water to more than 40 million Americans and supports food production for the rest of the country, is in imminent peril. The levels in the nation's largest freshwater reservoir, Lake Mead, which is the big lake outside of Vegas, where the Hoover Dam is, behind the Hoover Dam, and a fulcrum of the Colorado River Basin, because it is the Colorado River that was dammed in the first place to form Lake Mead and produce hydroelectric power through Hoover Dam, has dropped, Lake Mead now, has dropped to around 25% capacity. In fact, if Mead drops too much further, there will not be enough water pressure to turn the turbines to generate electricity. But this article isn't exactly looking at that, it's looking at the water. The Bureau of Reclamation, which governs Lakes Mead and Powell and water distribution for the southern end of the river, has issued an ultimatum. 7 states that draw from the Colorado must find ways to cut their consumption by as much as 40%, or the federal government will do it for them. Global climate change is real. We are feeling the effects, and 40 million people, as well as the agriculture around it, are going to have to figure out how to use 40% less water every single day. Can you imagine? If any of you have ever been to Vegas, if you've ever been to the Hoover Dam, if you've ever, because you can tour it, it's a tourist site as much as anything else, just to see the engineering and brilliance behind it. If you please look up pictures of it. It is frightening. It is frightening. You can see from the deposits on the rock canyon, if you will, around Lake Mead and behind the Hoover Dam, the Colorado River, just how low the water has gotten. It is approaching a point where there won't be enough water going through the dam to make the turbines turn. Then not only will 40 million people be without water, they'll be without electricity. Right here in the United States. We're not talking about some third world or fourth world country, some distant Pacific island, some sub-Saharan African set of warlord city-states. Here in the United States, because we did not plan, because we did not spend on infrastructure for decades, that's what we're looking at. Right here in the United States. Think about it. And something that I think is very important, speaks to what we were talking about with Mr. Hollister and Noah and with Randall just now. This morning, with George Stephanopoulos, an article comes from The Guardian. Senator Bernie Sanders chided Republicans on Sunday for backing tax breaks for corporations and wealthy Americans while criticizing President Biden's student debt relief plan. A quote from Senator Sanders. Look, I know it's shocking to some Republicans that government actually, on occasion, does something to benefit low-income families and working people. The progressive from Vermont said during an interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC News this week, quote, "I don't hear any of these Republicans squawking when we give massive tax breaks to millionaires." And there, by the way, you have it. The summation of the modern Republican movement. In a couple simple phrases. CRT, trans kids are coming in your bathroom, stealing athletic opportunities from your kids. Debt relief for students, especially poor students who might not be white. Bad. Tax breaks for big corporations, massive military spending, good. That basically sums up what Republicans are now. It's all they got. It's all they got. I think you're all smarter than that. I think even the Republicans that listen to this program, and I know that you do, I think you're smarter than that. I think Mr. Hollister's right about one thing. The political parties in this country can, if we work at it, can get back to a place where we all want to end up at the same point. We might just not always agree on how to get there. I believe that that can happen again, but not if we don't work at it. Let me just tell you what's going on. We are not planning to be with you next week. It is Labor Day. I wish you all a very, very safe Labor Day. And let us please again remember, yep, I was right. It is Labor Day. Let's remember what Labor Day is about. The labor movement and the contributions of the labor movement to the growth, to the building, to the growth, to the sustainability, and what will eventually be the regrowth of the middle class and the country as a whole. So take that. There you go. That said, we will not, that is our plan, to not be here next week. If that changes, please keep an eye on the Facebook page. So I ask, we will return. Oh, I closed the calendar too quick. On September 11th, actually. We will mourn, and I almost said we will celebrate that day, but that's not what I meant. You know, I think you know what I mean. It's a day of remembrance, and it will be when we join you on September 11th. Sunday, September 11th, we join you again live from 5 p.m. Eastern. Our guest, we do have a guest. He is scrambling to find the guest list. There it is. That's what I thought. Okay. Our guest is Jennifer Shakaitis. She is the Democratic nominee for the Pennsylvania State Senate from the district's number. Of course, I cannot remember, but her district centers in the Monroe County, Pennsylvania area, which would be the Poconos. For those of you, if you're not familiar with the geography of the Commonwealth, her state Senate district hovers around the kind of centers around the Poconos, if you will. The Delaware Water Gap, Interstate 80, East Stroudsburg, in that area. Obviously, it's bigger than just that, but that's for those of you who may not be familiar with the geography of our Commonwealth, that is where we're talking about. So Jennifer Shakaitis joins us on September 11th. We will not be with you on Labor Day unless something changes, unless there's a big, huge news event that we need to be here with you for. I think that pretty much does it for us. I, of course, want to thank Noah Fatzinger, deputy campaign chair for Bob Hollister, and of course for Bob Hollister for being here. And of course, we thank all of you for being here and for gutting through my myriad of like health issues here tonight. Because they're not always fun to listen to. I hate when people, it seems to happen a lot in sports radio. People will just be right in the middle of a sentence and they'll sniff, sneeze, cough, swallow, like do these things that you just, older radio people think are at a minimum ineloquent to do on air. But again, I don't have a dump button, unfortunately. I wish I did have a dump button. I don't think I do though. So that if I did do something like that, I could just hit a button, you wouldn't hear anything, and then I could fix it. But so for our guests, I'm so grateful to our guests. Please remember that if you did not hear, if you missed any of the program, I should say, if you missed any of tonight's program, please go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/that other side of information. Our Twitter and LinkedIn, I have been posting pretty good. I almost said pretty religiously. I've been pretty good about posting there, show announcements and links to the show itself. I remembered a TikTok this week. You can always reach me there. You can reach me through LinkedIn. You can reach me through Twitter. I'm pretty easy to find. And I think that does it for us. Remember, Sergeant Mac comes up at 9 o'clock on hot101.net. Hey, hot101.net family. Sergeant Mac, Thomas Bishop, The Villain's View comes to you at hot101.net and That Other Side of Information on Facebook, and Ghost Claw Productions on Facebook as well, from 9 p.m. Eastern time, right after, well, pretty much after us, from 9 p.m. Sergeant Mac from 9 p.m. I don't know if he's doing a show on Labor Day. He probably is. He probably is, because I think 4th of July weekend he did one when we didn't. So he's a little more, I don't want to say he's more dedicated. I almost just said straight out he's more dedicated. It doesn't do the holiday. I guess I kind of understand it. By 9 o'clock Eastern time on a Sunday evening, holiday is sort of over. But when the holiday's on a Monday, you guys would rather be doing 1,000 other things than listening to me on a holiday weekend. But, I'll have to see if Sergeant Mac is doing it over Labor Day. But we won't be here. We'll be back with you on the 11th. So I think that pretty much that's all the damage I can do, unless anybody calls in the next couple minutes. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. We plan to be back with you on September 11th. Jennifer Shakaitis will be the guest. My dear thanks to Noah Fatzinger, and of course our next congressman from the 11th district, Bob Hollister. We will be there. And we look forward to it. I'm in it. I told Bob when he gets elected, he better come back and see us. I hope that he does. All the congressional candidates that we're hoping to have before Election Day, I hope they all remember us when they go to Washington and get famous. For Whitney and Marquise Lupton, for Andrew Dixon, for Taekwon Wright, the team, the family at TCP, the Culture Professional. Please check them out tomorrow morning. Look for the morning show tomorrow morning. Thank you to them, to DJ Lex and DJ Earl and the whole family at hot101.net. Thank you. And thank you, hot101.net listeners, well over 100,000 worldwide, for being with us for yet another Sunday. To my dear friend, sister, April Riddick, I would not be on this program without her. For George and Lynn Dare, who are enjoying well-deserved family time at the Jersey Shore. Stay safe, you two, enjoy. And of course, for my much better half, who is, I believe, downstairs waiting for me, Kristen, for all my friends and family at Our Revolution, Pennsylvania. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the program this evening. Hey, look at that, 2 phone calls and everybody lived. You can call the program. It's perfectly okay. Thank you for being with us yet again tonight. We will see you on September 11th. with Jennifer Shakaitis as our guest. You take care of yourselves, everyone. Have a wonderful Labor Day. It's never too late to get a COVID vaccination. Please go get them, get a booster. I now have 4 of them under my belt, and I still got this weird infection thing. So just please go get vaccinated. It's never too late. To all the parents out there who have kids going back to school either tomorrow, or maybe you already went back to school, or you will be going back to school after Labor Day, we will be thinking about you. Congratulations. Kids are going back to school. Get some time back. Relax, enjoy it, take a nap. Take a nap after the bus comes. And stay safe, you kids. All of you, stay safe. That's it. We've done all the damage we can do. I will see you all in 2 weeks. Please enjoy. And thank you for allowing us to be part of your Sundays. Until then, I'm Jeff Kennedy. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.